Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screams. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
Thursday, Friday Eve. Yes, big show today. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.
They started already.
They've already started. Jason Kelsey at 2 o'clock today on the program. Can't wait.
No, GG, where's Pimp Gun at? Oh, my goodness.
They're already going after you, man. They're already coming.
Dude, I got so many texts yesterday after the show. D-Gun, that was hilarious. And the good thing is, my wife still doesn't know I did it. So,
showing the old school pictures for people who may not know what Derek's referencing. Yeah, he busted out the 70s, 80s Gunner with an afro. You went cowboy hat. You went sort of pimp hat. You had it all going on, man. You had it all going on.
It's like Twiz says, you got to keep the pimp hand strong, man.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We see everybody. Yeah, we see Mood Swing Bella. We see Chris D. We see John. We see Twiz, Tyler, GG. What's up, 1117? What is up, Mr. Taz? What's up, Brett? What's up, JM? Father Sean. Hope everybody's doing well. If I missed anybody, my apologies. Hope you guys are doing great. The gunslinger is what Tone says they used to call you.
That ain't what they used to call me, Tone, but it was something close to that, my brother. Hey, what it is.
Fitness Rebel, right on time. She's ready to roll. Travis, AJ, how we all doing?
Mr. Taz, D-Gun really used to be the Pulp Fiction Samuel L. Jackson.
It's true.
Yeah, man. My boy Jason Kelsey confirmed a little while ago. He's going to show up at 2 o'clock today.
He's locked in, man. He's locked and loaded. He's got his event next week in Sea Isle, which we will discuss. But we're looking forward to hanging out with Jason. Yeah, it's going to be fun today, man. The best thing, there's a lot of things to like about Jason Kelsey. You kidding me? But one of the things that's great is he'll give you an answer on anything. Like you can, it's not just football. It's not just whatever. You want to go like life questions with Jason Kelsey. He's going to give you something entertaining, probably funny, but certainly, he keeps it real. It's something from the heart. He's that kind of guy. He has transformed, Eric. If you remember the really early days, remember people were really on Andy. It was towards the end of Andy and they were kind of sick of him and they were all over him.
Yep.
And you were there. You're covering the team every single day.
Yep.
But Jason got ticked off at some of the people who were holding up signs, if you remember, down by the NovaCare complex. And, he let the people have it. And it looked like this was going to be a rocky relationship. And it's, in fact, been the total opposite, ever since.
Jason Kelsey, like Brandon Graham, can walk on water in Philadelphia.
Yep.
After that epic speech, after they won the Super Bowl in 2017, Jason Kelsey can do no wrong because not only did he speak with passion, but he confirmed things that were going on behind closed doors. And you can see Doug Peterson, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman standing off to the side like this.
Yeah.
And all of his teammates are going like this. Oh, Howie Roseman in the closet. Mm-hmm. Lane Johnson on the road.
It was unbelievable, man. When he was on that tear, everybody was in firing range, man.
Dude, I'm still. They had him up on the top steps at the art museum. I'm standing right at the bottom of the steps, interviewing players, former and current players there. And all of a sudden, I was standing there with my field producer at the time was Rachel McCauley. Great person. I love her like a sister. And I said, and I kept saying, if Jason Kelsey gets the microphone, this is going to be epic, right? Uh-huh. What Jason Kelsey said was by far surpassing anything I thought was going to happen. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good.
I couldn't believe it, yeah.
But now he's become this media darling, man, with his podcast. He's this media darling now, man. His podcast with him and his brother is hilarious.
It's awesome. And they do very funny sort of creative stuff. Like I told you, I love the one where they showed the picture from the the GM meetings, the owners meetings, I forget, whatever it is. All the coaches are there, and they have them all out on this big front sort of patio area.
Yeah.
And Jason's asking Travis to go through and name certain guys, certain coach. And he had no idea. Like, he didn't know who Mike McDaniel was, who coached the Dolphins. And then the best was he didn't know who Brandon Staley was, who coaches a team in his division. And he didn't know who he was.
Man.
It was unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness. Dude, I love the interview they did with Andy Reid. Oh, my goodness, dude. That was off the chart. And see, that's exactly what I was telling you. I've been telling people for years about Andy Reid. And when I say this, people are like, Andy Reid? I said, if you get Andy Reid in a comfortable area, get him away from the X's and O's of the microphone. Andy Reid is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Andy has always told me, I said, Andy, why don't you show more of your personality? He goes, they don't need to see that. You know, you tell them what you have to tell them, then you get out of there. He didn't care about standing in front of the podium and talking before, after a game, or during the week after a practice or before a practice. All he wanted to do was coach. Yeah. His players knew his personality, and and I was one of the few people in the media, unfortunately, that he allowed to see the other side of Andy. But Andy's hilarious, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
You remember that epic video? I don't know if you were still working at NBC. I think it was the first time he came back to Philadelphia as coach of Kansas City, and they beat the Eagles. And I run down to Kansas City's locker room, and the PR staff, a guy named Ted Cruz, great guy, he stonewalled me, but he didn't know me from Adam. I said, hey, guys, I talked to Andy Reid for a minute. And he was like, basically, who are you? I said, tell Andy Reid Derek Gunn's here.
Yeah.
Andy Reid said, yeah, let him in the locker room. I do this interview, and I ask him a question, and he grabs me and kisses me on the head.
I do remember that. That was awesome.
In all my years of interviewing players and coaches, that has never happened before, has never happened since.
Yeah, first kiss. I know. It's true. It's true. That was awesome. I remember. He does legitimately have a great fondness for you. I'm not, as do a lot of people, but Andy really does appreciate your the way you always handled yourself with him. I will tell you that. That is a fact, because not a lot of people get that kind of special. I don't just mean the kiss. I mean access and treatment that you get. So that's cool. But no, Jason's in that folk hero, realm at this point.
See, John Dickerson trying to be funny. Andy let D Gun in because he respects his elders. Hey, John, Andy's older than I am. Ha! Ha!
There you go. So we're again, Jason coming up at 2. So a couple other things to hit. Phillies got postponed last night. It was a weird. Derek, I kept checking my weather app.
Yes.
The weather yesterday, by the time, from the time we got off the air until, I don't know, whatever, midnight, changed every set. It was changing all the time. Like, it looked like the Phillies had a good window to get the game in from 6 to 10. Then it looked like, I might get a little rain at 8, but they're still going to be okay. And blah, blah. And I know people are killing the Phillies because they waited 2 hours and 25 minutes to call it last night. But it really was a weird sort of fluid weather situation in the Delaware Valley. And then we have a chilly, rainy day today. We're in the second day of summer, and we're in a legitimately chilly, rainy day here in the Philadelphia area. It's strange.
Let me tell you something.
Not up your alley.
This month has sucked. Let me emphasize the word sucked, because usually by this time of year, you've got the humidity, you've got the consistent heat. You go outside at night at midnight or 1 a.m., and it's warm, man. Yeah. You go outside, shorts and T-shirt. Man, I saw mosquitoes last night wearing winter jackets outside, dude. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, seriously.
I know.
What kind of June is this? I mean, we're in the midst of summer. July and August are going to fly by. We're going to be back to fall weather again. Let me emphasize again. This weather sucks for the month of June.
I'm with you. I don't like this. I don't mind the heat. So bring on the heat as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, but they call it last night. They postpone it until September 11th. They'll play a doubleheader with the Braves. The weird, I guess, scheduling quirk here is they don't play after they play the Mets in this upcoming weekend. So they play the Braves today and then the Mets this weekend. They won't play Atlanta or New York again until September. They don't get either one of those teams between now, and then.
Yeah, but you know what? That's great. That's great drama.
I like playing them late. I'm just surprised there's no other games with them, in between. But I do. I love it. I would much rather backload this thing NL East to close out the schedule for sure. 100% with that. They play today at 1:00. It's going to be a big Aaron Nola day today. Aaron Nola needs to deliver. You get the win, you split. Okay, you move on. It is what it is. You couldn't have, won the series because you didn't play last night. But if Nola can go out there and look good and start pulling his weight like the other starters have, it can at least leave you with a good feeling, even though you only split the series. But it's a big game for him today, for sure.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How confident are you in Nola?
Not confident.
Today?
Not. Here's what I'm not. Here's the thing. He'll sit there and he'll cruise through 3, and I'm still not buying it. I'm not buying it because it seems like that 4th inning or 3rd inning, boom, here comes the implosion. So I need to see him get through 7. Here's what I want today, Derek. I want 7 2-runs. I know Atlanta's nasty. I know how good their offense is, but I want 7 innings, 6 innings, somewhere in that neighborhood. No more, absolutely no more than 3 runs. That's all I'm asking. Not too much for an alleged ace. That's all I want. Yeah, I know. I don't feel good about it, but that's what I want. I can want something and it not be a reality. I want to be rich.
I want
to be tall.
The old adage, even a blind squirrel finds acorns every now and then. Maybe he'll find that acorn today, but I'm not counting on it. And the thing is, I'll be keeping tabs on it. I got a TV right behind me. Obviously, I can't look at it, but I'll be keeping tabs on my phone, watching this game unfold as we talk and discuss various things. But with this Braves lineup, now I will say this: Suarez handcuffed him for 6 innings.
Yep, 1 run.
But that's Suarez. Suarez has been consistent his last 4 starts.
Yep.
With Aaron Nola, it's like that old commercial. It's not just a job; it's an adventure.
I know, man. Listen, I'm with you. I got you. All right, so we have the NBA draft tonight. Sixers right now have no picks, but there was a major move last night. So late last night, we initially thought it was going to be a 3-team deal, and it ended up being a 3-team deal, but it's different than what we thought it was going to be. So what ends up happening is Kristaps Porzingis goes from he opts into the last year of his deal. Then he goes from the Wizards to the Celtics. Marcus Smart goes from the Celtics to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies send Tyus Jones to the Wizards along with the 35th overall pick. By the way, Boston also gets Memphis's 25th overall pick and then a top 4 protected Warriors pick the next year. It gets complicated with all the draft picks. Anyway, the crux of this thing is Porzingis goes to the Celtics and Marcus Smart leaves the Celtics and goes to the Grizzlies. Let me just tell you, I don't like this deal for Boston. I think you lost a glue guy, a heart guy. Yes, are there times when you're playing against them that you can't stand Marcus Smart? Is he borderline dirty and is he a flopper and all that? Yeah, but he provided so much for that team as a defender, as just a tough dude. He could hit a shot. Porzingis to me is injury prone. He's a guy who doesn't like to mix it up necessarily. I know he had a pretty good year for the Wizards, but let's face it, somebody had to score for the Wizards. Like I don't get this one from Boston's perspective.
When I look at the Marcus Smart, I refer to him as a more athletic PJ Tucker in terms of he's tenacious on defense.
Yep.
He can pass the ball, great passer, and he can hit the 3. What is Boston thinking giving him up for Porzingis? I don't understand that. Now, they get a little bit longer. I get that. But how many games is he going to play for you?
Right.
You don't know. I mean, this dude's always hurt.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand when you only get to a certain point, obviously teams panic and feel we got to get better or we got to be different in a certain area. But sometimes when you make moves like this, it hurts you more than it helps you. But I will say this. As much as it pains me to say this, I still say on paper right now, Boston is a better team than the 76ers.
Well, I agree. I would agree with that. Yeah. The thing is, like, NBA teams want to seem to ignore the injury thing. And it's hard for a leopard to change its spots. I see teams are looking to trade for Paul George. Paul George is always hurt. He's always hurt. And like, I'll give you a great example in another sport. So Jacob deGrom became a free agent last year, and the Rangers signed him to a monster deal.
Yep.
He's on the shelf with Tommy John surgery. Like, we saw this coming, with the Mets the last couple of years. He couldn't stay healthy. And the Rangers ignored it, and they get burned by it. So I don't understand why teams wish and hope and And again, I know Porzingis had a pretty decent year last year, but still, we'll see. And maybe there's more coming. That's the thing. You don't know if there's another move in the offing. All right, your gut, Derek. What's your gut telling you tonight? Will Tobias get moved? Will the Sixers do anything of significance? And I don't mean acquire like a second rounder. That's, it is what it is. Anything of note?
I think there's a good chance. Why do people keep ringing my doorbell? I think there's a good chance Tobias gets moved, but I don't think what they'll get in return for him will make you stand up and applaud. I think it'll be, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm leaning towards him getting moved, but I don't think it's going to pan out in terms of a wow factor for the 76ers and what they get in return.
Okay. All right. All right. Our Eagles question of the day.
Yes.
Our Eagles question of the day.
Yes.
We're going to look ahead. We're going to in our crystal ball here. How many of the 2023 roster, how many players on the 2023 roster will be Pro Bowlers at the end of the season? Ooh. How many will be selected for the Pro Bowl? Now, last year they had tons. If you include the alternates, I think, would you say it was 17 when we were talking about this during
total of 17? Nine made the Pro Bowl, and there were 8 alternates. Yeah.
That's a crazy number, but I guess it's not surprising for a 14-3 team. So that's my question for you, D-Gun. If you could peer into your crystal ball and tell me which players you think get in, and folks in the chat, you want to jump in on this. Tell me who you think will be Pro Bowlers in 2023.
I have 7 legitimate ones, and I have 2 additional that, if they play like they played last year, could get in. But because they'll go up against some of the others, I wonder if a team will allow them to get in, because we also know the voting is a fan favorite as well. So you want me to give you my list?
Go ahead, give me your list, then I'll give you mine. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the 7 that I believe, if they play like they played last year, slam dunks to get in. Okay.
All right. Yep.
Hurts.
Yep.
Kelsey.
Yep.
Lane Johnson.
Yep.
Malata.
Got that one.
Bradbury.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Reddick.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The 2 I think could get in, but I wonder if they'll get phased out because of popularity with other receivers or other linemen in the game, are Devonta Smith and Landon Dickerson.
I would agree with all those. We are shockingly very similar here. So here's what I have. I have Jalen. I have Mailata. Yep. I have Dickerson. I have Kelsey. I have Lane Johnson. I have AJ Brown. I have Hassan Reddick. I have James Bradbury. I threw Josh Sweat in there.
Oh,
okay. I'm expecting big things. The one other, I don't think you had this one. I have Jake Elliott.
Oh, I forgot about Elliott. Oh, I forgot.
Jake Elliott is the kicker. So I think you're right about Devontae. Like, Devontae could be it's such a hard position. There's so many good receivers. That's the challenge. And because AJ Brown is so good, maybe Devontae's numbers aren't astronomical. They're good. I mean, he was over 1,000 yards last year, but maybe he would have better numbers on a worse team, or if he didn't play with such good receivers. Oh, and Goddard too is there. Goddard stays healthy. He's in consideration.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think if there's anybody else that we're overlooking.
Would you put? See, here's why I didn't put Jalen Carter in there.
Yeah.
We agree unanimously that he's going to play more snaps than Jordan Davis.
Yes.
But how will he be utilized in the scheme? See, that's what I want to know. I think this young man has a chance to be the defensive rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the unknown in terms of how they're going to use him,
right,
I couldn't put him on there. The players I put on there were based on past performances and still being some of the best of their position right now.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's why I didn't put Carter on my list.
Yeah, I think, look, I agree with you. Like, I truly believe this, Derek. I think Jalen Carter will be in consideration for rookie of the year. Now, I'm not guaranteeing he wins it, but I think he's going to be in conversations for it. Because he doesn't have to come off the field. He's not a specialist. Yep. Jordan Davis right now is kind of a specialist. Now, he may prove us different, but right now he's a run specialist. That's not that's not Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter can defend the run, can defend the pass, and shouldn't have to come off the field theoretically.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we don't know.
John, hold on. I love Sippos. You are correct. Yes. And by the way, this is a lavender hoodie that I'm wearing. Yes, thank you very much.
Is it lavender?
It is lavender. Yes, it's Sports Specialties. If you guys ever need any kind of engraving or work done, they're awesome. Yeah, they do great stuff. Let me know.
See, I have a lot of purple and I have a few lavenders, and I said, you know what? Lavender's in for men. It has been for a while, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a time if you wore lavender, people would go, "Oh, you wearing lavender?" Hey, look, man, lavender's a cool color. I love it. You can wear it with so many different colors.
That's the thing. It
blue,
matches with everything.
Grays.
Yeah.
You can wear lavender with any. Mauve is another color. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you, Tone. That's my color. Thank you, Tone. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, we got to get away from this. You can't wear certain. Come on, man. Whatever. Yeah, man. Who cares?
I'm still a little bit. I don't have any pink stuff. I don't have pink. And I have guys wearing pink shirts and stuff.
I think pink looks sharp. Like if you're wearing a sport coat and you go with navy blue with a pink button down shirt, I think it looks that pops.
You can also wear pink with a light brown. Also, I have pink dress shirts I wear with a light brown. I can wear it with gray, black, navy blue. Mm-hmm. But I don't have pink t-shirts. Like with slogans on them. Or
I don't have any t-shirts. Yeah, I definitely don't have t-shirts. But I like the button down if you're going or over a sweater or under a sweater, something like that looks good.
Hey, Fly Parks. Wait, no, who is it? Oh, Gigi. Hey, Rob, any news on the email?
Yeah, you know what? Not yet, Gigi, but it's not through a lack of reaching out. We're working on it. I can tell you that. It's a work in progress, which will be completed. I promise you that. We work on it. Interesting. Father Sean says, wonder if Nolan Smith will do enough to be considered. I don't know about considered enough for a Pro Bowl, but maybe enough to be thought of like, hey, we got the guy next year. Like you can plug him right in there and it's all good. So that'll be interesting to see where he goes and what happens with that.
Tone said in the private, he said, real men wear pink.
That's right. I agree. I agree with that.
Off limits now.
Oh, so Tone's working on it. Tone is working on our email. So he's going to get us an email address that you guys can use. So people may not know who weren't with us yesterday. So we're looking for an avenue for you guys to be able to either like send us stuff or, pictures or, as Gunnar said, we'd like to see what you guys look like other than your avatar there, whatever stuff like that, that we can share on the show. So we are working on it. We're on it. Good one too. T-Car says, I have a dark horse for rookie of the year, Sidney Brown. Look, it's not crazy. I don't know. And Andrew, yes, Jason Kelsey is coming on today at 2 p.m. to answer your question. That one, I don't know right now with Sidney Brown. I think that they like the experience that even though it wasn't a ton, that Blankenship got last year. And I think they also really do like Sidney Brown. So he's going to have to earn it, either way, really either guy, right? I mean, that goes for Terrell Edmonds too. They're both going to have to earn it.
Yeah, I think when you look at a guy like Sidney Brown, I believe Blankenship will be the man initially because he has a year experience on him. And by the time Sidney Brown assumes the position somewhere in the course of the season, it could cost him in terms of consideration for a Pro Bowl. That has nothing to do with his talent. I don't think he'll get enough reps in compared to others to be considered for that. But when you look at the 2024, if he's what we expect him to be, absolutely he's a viable candidate then. But I don't think he would be considered a candidate this year.
Yeah, it's hard to get on the field as a rookie, and there are certain positions that are harder than others. Cornerback's a really hard position. And safety, or they're really hard positions for young guys because you're dealing with incredible athletes. You're dealing with, schemes that are going to fool you. It's a little easier to plug in, say, a running back or a defensive tackle,
wide receiver,
right? I mean, there are certain positions that are a little bit easier. Quarterback, obviously, very hard. But yeah, I mean, I think they're harder spots that we're talking about here. We need to have a little, I'm excited too about Sidney Brown, but I think we're maybe jumping the gun a little. We got to let this guy settle in and just get some time. You know,
I
and
know
it's,
people are excited. That's
yeah.
understandable.
No, I get it too. And you know what? It's even harder now because these guys don't get as many opportunities in preseason games as
Heck
they used to.
Hey, just an update. Tone said the email will be created by the end of the day.
Nice. Nice.
That
Yeah.
means-
And if Tone has it done, we'll give you guys the email address and you can start sending us some stuff.
Now
you know?
you're off today. So if Tone
Tomorrow.
hasn't done, I mean you're off tomorrow.
Yes.
So if Tone has it done, then I will pass it along and have people start sending stuff over the weekend, and we can kind of weed through it all next week and see what we want to incorporate.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you'll be on with Jody Mack tomorrow. So you get a little Jody
Yep.
tomorrow. I'm
and make sure people you put your chat handles on so we know exactly who you
right.
are.
Exactly.
You know, it's important you do that. So
yeah, because we may not, for example, I don't know, T-Car or Gigi. Just let us know who it is. You know, obviously Chris D and Rebel, Fitness Rebel, and everybody else. So just let us know, who you are, and so we can distinguish which is which for sure. All right, so we're gonna come back.
you got a break already?
We got a break already, man. We can keep hanging. We're not against it. We're not up against anything till Jason at 2, so we don't need to go anywhere. We can keep hanging.
Man, this is our show. We run the show, Rob. We don't have to conform to anything or anybody. It's our world.
I forgot.
Today.
What we have coming up a little bit later, my friend. We're going in there.
Going in.
Yes, we call it the Crawl Space Tour today, D-Gun. All right, this is something you don't get this kind of stuff on HGTV. All right, this is behind the scenes access that you don't get anywhere else. All right, I've talked about it before. We are going in there. We are going in there in the final segment. Okay.
All right. So at 2:30 is when you're going in.
Correct. Now I made it a point.
Yeah.
To not. Since we talked yesterday about this,
yes,
I didn't touch a thing in there. So what you're getting is real. Okay. I can promise you that much. All right. Now I'm going to do my best because think about like the setup. I'm going to be literally like I'm down like this as I'm walking through this thing. So I'm going to do the best I can because it is literally probably like maybe 3. Well, what would you say? What would you say this is? Probably about 3 feet high. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So I'm going to be hunched over, and I'll be, my knees and my back will pay for it, but anything for the show, man. I sacrifice anything for the show.
Are there any bodies in there, first of all?
You have to stick around and find out.
Woo!
Okay? You have to stick around and find out. There could be some stuff in there. You know what I mean? And by the way, what happens in the crawl space stays in the crawl space if there's anything crazy in there. People, all right.
Hey, Sean, Father Sean says, "Do the gritty in there, Rob."
Impossible, Father Sean. Trust me, there's not enough room in there. But yeah, we'll be digging into the crawl space, and it's not a pretty sight. So I'm forewarning you guys. Okay, we will make it happen.
If a bat comes out of there, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to tell you right now.
You might. I might not make it out alive, man. You might have to do the rest of the last segment by yourself, Derek. So
it'll be a giggle fest for the last 20+ minutes because if you stumble over something and get lost in a pile of something, I'm going to lose it for the rest of the show. I'm tell you that right now.
Yeah, so we'll make it happen. We'll get it done. I'm not telling you it's going to be like Martin Scorsese directed. I'll do the best that I can with this thing. So we'll get it done. All right, so we'll get a quickie in and we'll come back.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah.
What Mike Friedel says, let me know if you find Trey Turner swinging there. Ouch. Man,
you know what?
Vicious, man. Ooh.
Yeah. This is he isn't wrong. Mike, you're not wrong, my friend. All right, so that's where Sills.
Tone said Rob shows his daughter's guy friends the crawl space if they get
correct. Get out of line. Tom Bigby was the old program director at WIP. He was a tyrant. He was a tough dude, but it was not easy to survive him, and that's for sure. All right, so that's what we'll do. We'll hit in there. We'll head in there in the last segment, but 2:00, Jason Kelsey joins us. We'll come back. We'll keep the Eagles' momentum rolling. We're going to look ahead a little bit to the defense, what we think, and also dive into guys who are in the last year of their deal, who are really going to have to perform if they want to continue to be Eagles or get big money, and just who we're going to, watch the closest here of these newcomers that are going to be critical to the Eagles defense. So we'll do all of that when we come back. You don't want to go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yes. I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. Would hit the spot right now. I'll tell you that. Been going there since I was a kid. Bravo Pizza of Havertown's been family owned since 1985. You got Alex and the entire crew just putting out unbelievable food each and every day. Fresh food, flour flown in from Italy. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the you name it, they will make it, specialized pizza, however you want it. Not just pizza. You up for a little pasta? How about some sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads? They have it all. But, the beauty is they also are always thinking about the community and giving back to the community, whether that's fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. They're on top of it. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of Havertown, Instagram, Facebook for daily specials, promotions, and see what's going on in the menu. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810, Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We're back. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Thursday, 2 o'clock. Jason Kelsey will be joining us. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Friends, let's hit that like button if we could. Appreciate that. All right, so yes.
So Fitness Rebel hit me up on a DM on Twitter, and she says, "Hey, are we doing the pictures that we can submit? Are we doing then and now?" So what do we want? Yeah, I said, do whatever, whatever you want, Yeah,
I really think it's kind of whatever you want to do, I don't think it has to be.
Keep it clean.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, but or if you don't keep it clean, it's never going to make the air, and we're not going to deal with you. But no, I mean, yeah, we love to see funny stuff. You want to go back in the day like we were doing with some of our pictures yesterday, or yeah, any of that kind of stuff is great. We're game for anything. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, you laughed at us. You made your comments at us over the last year.
It's our turn.
Now it's our turns to enjoy some of those special moments in your lives.
It's special moments in your lives. That's a good way to put it. Yes. Yeah. So we will do that. Yes. And it could be just like, if you find something funny or something happened to whatever, share an anecdote. It doesn't matter. Anything. We just want to give you that kind of flexibility for sure. So we will do that. Look, man, a lot to dive into. There is a lot to dive into here with the Eagles because, we're getting closer. We're about a month away from training camp. So let's take a look here, Derek. From a defensive standpoint, they were really good defense last year. 20 points per game. Most defensive coordinators would say, I'd take it. I know Jim Johnson used to say, I think 15 or 17 or whatever, but 20 is pretty good. That's 7th in football. They were the best team in football against the pass. There wasn't a team. They only gave up less than 180 yards per game in the passing game. That's phenomenal this day and age. Run, they weren't as good. They were tied for 15th, and they were first in sacks. Pro Football Focus has a number 2 overall defensively and number 1 defensive line. Here's who they lost. Javon Hargrave, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, T.J. Edwards, Kaiser White, Marcus Epps, among others. They're kind of the headliners, right? I don't think I'm missing any huge names there.
No.
New faces counted on: Nicholas Morrow, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Reed Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds, Nolan Smith, maybe Keely Ringo, maybe. New defensive coordinator, linebacker, secondary coach. So in looking at it from that perspective, Derek, of those guys, you want to go players or you might want to go coaches. First off, I'll ask you, what position and or player are you going to be looking at most closely?
I would have to say linebacker, and the position and the player most closely would have to be Nakobe Dean. I'm extremely excited about the prospects of what he can do, but I just have to see it. As a college player, he was a destroyer in college. Can he play at that level in his maiden voyage as a starter in the National Football League?
Right.
I think he has all the physical attributes. He has the lateral speed. He can hit the gaps in a hurry. He can be very disruptive. But how is Sean Desai and Matt Patricia going to utilize all of his assets, especially when Desai's already said they don't like to blitz much. Right. They like to rely on that 4-man front. So what is his definitive role as the signal caller for that defense? That's the one position and the one player in particular that I'm really looking forward to seeing how it evolves and grows during the course of a season.
I look, hard to argue linebacker, right? I mean, really hard to argue linebacker because I thought it was an area that was, I thought not so much TJ, but Kaiser White as the season went on.
Yep.
I think you saw why the Chargers let him walk. He was just okay. No, Gigi, Ringo has not signed yet. He asked if Keely Ringo has signed yet. He's the only one unsigned. But yeah, I thought that position was mediocre for the Eagles last year. Thought it was okay. It's definitely an area you can upgrade, but I don't know yet if Nicholas Morrow's an upgrade. I know he had a lot of tackles last year on not a great team. So I do wonder about that. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the success on that side of the ball is going to come down to Nakobe Dean.
Yep.
And how good he is.
Yep.
And I also wonder how much the familiarity those guys have playing together, whether it's Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nakobe, and at some point Nolan Smith. I don't know how much of a role that plays at the NFL level, but it might help.
Now, I will add this also. Depending on how quickly Nakobe adapts to his new role or his expanded role, I do feel good about the fact the Eagles have enough talent in front of him and behind him to help cover up any deficiencies he might have until he grows into that position. Most teams can't say that, but you look at what they have at the corners. They brought in Terrell Edmonds, a proven veteran. You look at what they have up front in terms of pass rushers. They have enough talent to help him grow,
right,
and not feel an exceedingly amount of pressure put upon his shoulder pads. So I do like that. I do think he's a quick study. And I do think he's going to evolve in that role. But everybody's excited about, man, he's the man. We can all sit here and say that, but we don't know until we see it. And when you can take into consideration some of the quarterbacks he's facing, this is not last year.
right.
You're not facing a whole season full of backups. You got some good frontline quarterbacks you got to face this year.
Mm-hmm.
And how is he going to handle that game in and game out? That's going to be, especially that one stretch of 5 games in the middle of the season. Man, that's murderer's row right there.
I agree. And, and the other thing is, in terms of all these guys, but let's just take Nakobe Dean. How long is it going to take Sean Desai to figure out how to utilize him best? It felt like for a minute last year, very early in the year, the Eagles still didn't have a good handle on how to use Reddick.
Yep.
And then when it all clicked, he started going off, but it took them a little while. So that's the other thing. It might take these players and the coaches a second to get on the same page as to how to best get the most out of them.
When you have a coordinator who only has 1 year of experience as a coordinator, you have to wonder, how's this going to look now? And it makes you understand why they brought in a more proven coordinator in Patricia.
Right.
To have an extra set of eyes and ears and thoughts and a voice as well. As long as they're on the same page and don't conflict each other, I think it's going to be a really good match of those two joining forces and trying to form a top-notch defense. But again, because you have so many new pieces you're adding to the equation, and they've got to learn each other, it's going to take a while. The offense is going to hit the ground running. The defense may go through some rough patches, but that's to be expected.
Yeah.
I think the offense is potent enough to where it can overcome any deficiencies or slow starts the defense might have.
I agree with you. I mean, the fail-safe is I do think they're going to put a lot of points up, especially early in the season, and it'll allow these guys a little bit of time to get caught up here and get going. And hopefully, they figured out whatever it is. They've ironed out all the kinks by the time you get to that stretch you're talking about out of the bye, because it gets really real at that point. That's for sure. So that's one to be looking at. Is there anybody? It's clearly, I think we're both going to have a focus on Dean. You talked about Jalen Carter a little bit earlier. What's a fair expectation of Jordan Davis? Like, how should we look at this year versus last year when he was getting his feet wet a little bit?
Considering how they like to rotate people in and out, I think it's imperative that he plays at least 35, 38% of the snaps. He played like 21% of the snaps last year, and I still can't get out of my head when he was healthy. They only played him 10 snaps in the Super Bowl, especially when Kansas City in that second half was running up and down the field on him. Yep. And when he did play, Kansas City's offensive line, which was a decent offensive line, but not a great offensive line, was walling him off.
Mm-hmm.
They were walling him off and opening up holes elsewhere. I need to see him play at least 35 to 38% of the snaps this year. You cannot play 20% of the snaps this year as a high first-round draft pick in year number 2. Year number 1, when you look at what you had in front of him, you had two high-paid D tackles and Hargrave and Cox, highly decorated D tackle. It's okay. You can bring him along slowly. And then, of course, 2 injuries set him back as well, an ankle injury and a concussion. But this year, if he's healthy, he needs to be in at least 35 to 38% of the snaps.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to put it for me is the training wheels are off. You had the luxury last year of having a really deep team. That hardly ever happens in the NFL. You don't have it now. And you were a first-round pick that they moved up to get. So, your expectation is very similar to what Jalen Carter's is. I mean, what did he go? What was Davis, 13th? And Carter was 9th. So your expectation should be, super high this year for him. And I want to see him. Look, if he establishes himself as a big-time run stuffer, and it looks like going forward he's got some potential against the pass, I'd feel good about that. If he really shows you that he's something, like there's a quality there. But I'd like to see him show us a little bit against the pass too. This is where it's a weird mix. Isn't that defensive line strange? You're really young and you're really old. Like you have Brandon and Fletcher Cox, and then you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith, yeah.
The only sort of middle-aged guys are like Josh Sweat, right? I guess Barnett, you kind of consider him like middle-aged.
Yep.
But it is a weird mix there. There's not a lot of in between.
No, I agree, but I like the nucleus that they have. You have the veterans that can calm the kids down and motivate them and encourage them as they go along. You have the seasoned vets who've played this game at the highest possible level. You've got two guys in Cox and Brandon Graham who have both played in 2 Super Bowls, so they know what it takes to get there. So you have enough mixture of both. You have a lot of speed, you have a lot of youth, you have a lot of high draft pick youth, and you have the veteran presence as well to stabilize it all. And even on the corners, when you look at Slay and Bradbury, they've been there. They know what it takes. Terrell Edmonds has been around the block a few times. Mm-hmm. So you have enough mixture to make this thing a very efficient, cohesive unit, hopefully in a short amount of time, sooner rather than later. But you got to get it together. You got to, because the time that you're going to spend in practices, and even when you play against other teams in scrimmages and training camp, your reps are limited because you got to look at so many different guys to see how you're going to fill out a roster.
Yep.
So you're not really going to get a feel for your teammates until the season hits the ground.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And that's the tough thing about the way things are now. And again, this is not a complaint because the Eagles were the most healthy team in football last year, but 3 preseason games where you're likely not to see a ton of Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter, and some others for that matter. And all of a sudden it's like week 1, Patriots, here we go. All right. Pushing you into the deep end of the pool. Let's see if you can swim here. Yep. We're going to find out, but these are highly drafted guys. So I don't think it's not like you're asking, other than Reed Blankenship, undrafted free agents to step in there and do a lot, and Sill says the entire middle of the defense, D tackles, linebackers, unproven. Most of it is, with the exception of Fletcher Cox.
Yep.
Milton Williams has played a little bit. He's been okay. But yeah,
and we don't even talk about him. We don't talk about, and I think he's a good D tackle. I really do. But there's another guy in the rotation. Mm-hmm. So with him and Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, you got a nice mix there to keep guys fresher in the latter parts of a game. So that's why I said, if you get Jordan Davis around 38% of the snaps, Milton's getting his snaps, Fletcher's going to get his snaps. Yeah, that's a good ratio.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think this is also where it's difficult that you're asking a first-year defensive coordinator, to do a lot here. And we're going to find out, that's for sure. So the way you look at this thing is, to me, Hargrave will hurt them because he's clearly a guy who gets to the passer. Yes. CJ will hurt them because he's got a nose for the ball. TJ Edwards is just super solid, right? He can do a lot of different things for you, but he's very solid. I don't know how much they miss Edwards or White and Epps.
I think Edwards is a big loss.
No, I'm saying White and Epps. I don't know how much they miss those guys.
Yeah, Epps is a good role player. I don't know. I'm not going to put him in. You miss him as a quality player in terms of snaps, but he's a good role player. He was a good tackler. He's got good speed. He doesn't shy away from physicality. I think you're going to miss him. You got younger at that position. Hopefully your frontline guys don't go down, because what will happen is if one of those kids has to step in there, an offense is going to attack him right away to see what he can or cannot do. And then rookies' heads are going to be swimming, especially when you go up against some of these better wide receivers. Your heads are going to be swimming. So you better hope your frontline guys can stay healthy again like they did last year. Mm-hmm. When you had Epps there, I felt good about if one of those frontline guys went down, that he could step in and hold it down, at least until they got back. You don't have that luxury now.
No, you don't. All right, let's dive a little bit into guys who are entering the last years of their deal or signed 1-year deals. Headliners again. Brandon Graham, 1-year deal. Fletcher Cox, 1-year deal. Quez Watkins entering the last year of his deal. And I believe Edmonds also. Terrell Edmonds was also a 1-year guy.
Yep.
So of that crew, it's weird. It's like Graham and Cox, established guys. Do they want to keep playing beyond this year? Do they want to play somewhere else besides Philadelphia? We had Brandon Graham on Tuesday, and basically one of the things he said was, look, did I flirt with other teams? Yeah. Was that Was that mostly to get the price up on the Eagles? Yeah. It doesn't sound like he wants to play anywhere else in his career. But regardless of those guys entering the last year of their deal, who do you feel best about, and who could certainly not be an Eagle in 2024?
Wow. I think you have to, I feel great about Kelsey, but again, Kelsey is year to year, and for the last 3 years, we all wondered, was he coming back? Was he coming back? He took his time, thought about it, talked to the right people who are close to him, and he came back. But now he's a year older. Is this his swan song? And we can ask him that. He's not. I can tell you right now, we can ask him that. He's not going to tell you.
No,
whether this is his last year or not. But you have to wonder. It starts with Kelsey. I put all these players under the category of use it or lose it. And I've got like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 players, including Kelsey, on the list of guys in their final contracts. Fletcher Cox, like you just said, is this his last year? Now, the Eagles obviously have a lot of respect for Fletcher and Fletcher has a lot of respect for the organization because he took $4 million less to come back here.
Yeah.
And obviously he wants to stay in Philadelphia for a lot of reasons. He's comfortable here. He understands the role here. He understands the city. He's planted roots here. I can understand if the Eagles decide to bring him back if he shows that he hasn't lost much. Brandon Graham, same thing. Brandon Graham will be 35 plus. Brandon Graham turned 35 in April. He'll be 35 plus, approaching 36 next year. How does he feel about it? Brandon is at a point now, every year that he gets is plus. And in this, there will be no internal struggle with Brandon in terms of, do I want to come back again? He'll shut it down. If he feels he's done everything he wants to, he'll shut it down in the blink of an eye and won't look back. He's got his kids. He wants to be more involved in their lives. If he wants to be in the media, radio TV stations are going to be lining up to try to grab him in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Once it's announced that he's officially done. The one I put at the head of use it or lose it has to be Derek Barnett. It has to be Barnett. This is a pivotal year for Barnett in terms of his tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles and him being able to command decent dollars, whether it's in Philadelphia or somewhere else. We all know edge rushers get paid in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Barnett has the capability of being I think Barnett has the capability of being good as Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
Barnett's biggest dilemma has been the mental mistakes. What has this off year this past year taught him? What is he focused on the most in trying to improve? If he can stay healthy, this is a huge year for Derek Barnett in his tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles. There's other players I have on the list, but I'll stop right there and let you jump in with some guys you might be looking at as well.
I'll just say this to Brandon and Fletcher Cox in particular, and Kelsey, especially Kelsey and Brandon Graham, maybe Fletcher Cox. I think Fletcher would play elsewhere and want to keep going. But if the Eagles were to win it this year, think about how tempting that would be to just go off into the horizon, having won another one for this city. If you're either Kelsey or Brandon Graham, you can't go out any better. You're already beloved. You're already a legend. You're already Kelsey's going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but they're both Eagles Hall of Famers.
Yes.
And to sort of do an Elway and go out after winning it would be pretty darn tempting. I don't know how you get cranked up if you're Jason Kelsey to come back for another year if you were to have won it,
Hey, Brent Selleck did it. Brent Selleck won the Super Bowl in 2017 and rode off into the sunset.
He did. So I think that's something you have to consider with those two for sure.
Absolutely.
But you're right. If there's way more riding for Quez Watkins and Derek Barnett, for example, because they're young guys who want to keep their NFL career going, who could be in danger of not having much of a career if they don't have impactful years this year. This year's critical for those guys, not only for the Eagles team, but for them just to survive in this league. As young guys.
I couldn't agree with you more. For Quez Watkins, I I put him in the category of a Jalen Reagor. Now, he wasn't drafted obviously high as Reagor, but
Right.
he has the speed. You know, when you've got that kind of speed, man, you've got to put it all together. He could have a long, prosperous career in the National Football League. But the fact that you've come out and basically, you know, chirped back at the people who are doubting you, now you've put even more pressure on yourself.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you're not in control of the amount of looks you're going to get. How many times will your number be called? You're not in control of that. So if you're not getting the catches, people are going to call you out. And it's in a lot of ways, it's not fair. If you're only getting 3 or 4 targets because Devontae, AJ, Goddard, and the backfield, you know, DeAndre Swift are getting the bulk of the passes, that's not your fault. But people are going to call you out because of your past transgressions and because you chirped back on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And how is he going to handle that? You know, is he going to start chirping back at people who bark at him on social media? Because you can't win those battles. You're only making it worse for yourself.
Agreed. Yeah, it's not a winning formula for you. It's not. You can't win that one. I agree with you. The safeties, I think, deserve a lot of attention too. I agree with you with linebackers, but the safeties deserve a lot of attention too, because, you know, you have, let's face it, if Pittsburgh valued Edmonds, I mean, he came back last year on a super cheap deal to play in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And they let him walk basically, and the Eagles signed him for like minimum-ish kind of numbers.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't speak really well about him.
No.
And then it's Reed Blankenship, and it's part of this is the Eagles are only going to spend so much on certain positions. They generally don't pay a lot of money to spots like safety or linebacker.
No. And you know what? You can't have Pro Bowlers at every position. You have to get younger to get better in the future. And that's why, you know, I think it's going to, there's on the defensive side, we're going to see growing pains in players. As talented as these players can be, you're going to go through some growing pains because they haven't done it at this level enough yet. But like I said before, you have enough veterans to cover up for a lot of things. You can't cover all facets, but you can cover up enough and still be successful while these young men continue to evolve. Tone says, if the Eagles win it again, he'll tattoo Kelsey's face on his chest. I would love to see that.
All right, Tone, you said it. It's on now. Derek just made it public. Yeah,
first of all, I'm not sitting still for anybody to tattoo anything. I hate needles. I ain't tattooing nothing on me. Yeah,
I don't mind tattoo. I don't have any, but I don't mind them. My only problem is, like, I know how I think, and I would have buyer's remorse. I would get it, and the next day I'd be like, "Is this on me for the rest of my life?"
Yes, yes.
That's the way my mind works.
When it comes to tattoos, there's some really creative ones out there, but then you see people who have like multiple, and it's like, what were you thinking when you allowed to do this? I mean, they're going all over your place, up and down your arms, your legs, your torso. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
When
did you really need Tweety Bird on your arm for the rest of your life? Yeah. And it looks like a 4-year-old scribbled it on there.
Yeah. And flowers and you know, but there's some that are really creative, but
there are. I know, look, it tributes to a family member. That stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's too much like just time on their hands, I guess. I don't know.
People put gargoyles on their body and snakes and all. I'm like, why?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. John, I Delco for life. Yes. A tramp stamp. Yeah, that's what I'm going to get. Exactly. Who knows? I don't have it. Maybe I do. All right. So we'll keep the Eagles talk. I think it is fascinating when you look at this thing, this defense. I want to pose this question to you when we come back. Looking at the other NFC East teams, you can even throw the entire NFC conference in there as to who scares you the most here, you know, whether it's a defensive standpoint or what. We'll dig into that a little bit when we come back as well. So remember, 2:00, about 1 hour from now, Jason Kelsey will be joining us here on the program. We'll do that. We'll sneak in some NBA stuff because there is some rumors being floated about the Knicks maybe trying to take a run at Paul George, et cetera. We'll get into all those kind of things when we come back. So don't go anywhere. What is it? What happened?
Big Sills. I would pay huge money to get a tattoo.
Yeah. Don't count. Don't hold your breath, Sills. It probably not happening. Yes, it ain't happening. No, I would. I'm telling you, man. I would have. I'm going to do it. And I'd sit down and I'd hear that of the needle. I'd be like, bye-bye. See you later. Yeah,
dude,
probably
I grip the chair when you're going to get your teeth cleaned and they turn on that thing with that little metal thing to clean your teeth. Man, my palms are sweating. I'm gripping that chair. I can rip the chair off the metal frame, the armrest off the metal frame. I am not sitting still to do tattoos for anything, man.
The dentist in general is not a fun experience. Even the teeth cleaning, man, when they're getting your gums and all. Like you love it afterwards, but at first, I'm just like, oh, God, get me out of here, man.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so we'll get a quickie in here. We'll come back. We'll continue with the NFL and the Eagles talk. And again, Kelsey at 2:00. You don't want to go anywhere. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Time for me to tell you about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. That's right. Because think about this. You work way too hard, right? You're trying to save. You're trying to do the right thing for yourself, for your family. And you want to make sure that you're investing your money with people that you can trust who are going to do the right things with it and grow it. And that's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. If you have a small business, you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. I know personally, and like I say to you guys, with everything that I endorse here, I take part in it. And I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or you could email him as well, Murray, Murray, .jim@principal.com. That's Murray.jim@principal.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Back. Happy Thursday, everybody. Appreciate you guys hanging out.
You laughing at?
Tone during the break in the private chat says, imagine Rob with a Mike Tyson tattoo. What was it, Hangover 2 or 3? The one guy got the Tyson tattoo. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Ed Helms' character, whatever his name was. Yeah, so that would be pretty funny, actually. All right, so if you're looking at the NFC, let's start with the NFC East, Gunner. So if you're looking at, Dallas, Washington, certainly throw the Giants in there with the improvements that they made last year under Dable. And I think we tend to look at the offensive side because Dable's an offensive guy and Daniel Jones looked decent and all those kind of things. But let's look at it from a defensive standpoint here. And of those teams in the East with the Eagles, and we mentioned the Eagles were seventh in points, first against the pass, and tied for 15th against the run, and led everybody in sacks. So if you're looking at points per game, Dallas finished ahead of the Eagles. Dallas was, let's see, 5th. Okay. And they allowed 20.1 to the Eagles 20.2. Pretty tight margin there. Okay. For starters.
Right.
And then you start to look at the rest, Giants, very middle of the pack. Even a little bit further down. Washington, not bad either. Washington and the Eagles, essentially same amount of points per game allowed. Yep. So you're talking about 3 of the 4 teams in the East. We're pretty good defensively, all things considered.
Absolutely. I think Dallas is going to be interesting just because of the addition of Stephon Gilmore. They had their problems in the past, and I will say this: if Dak had not thrown as many interceptions as he did, because there were a couple of games where INTs ricocheted off receivers' hands, and turned into picks, Dallas would have been pushing the Eagles for the division title.
Yeah,
I mean Dallas won 12 games,
100%.
They could have won 13, 14 games last year had it not been for Dak losing his mind. And let's face it, when it comes to playing the Eagles, Dak plays his best games against the Eagles. So when you look at the team that is the biggest threat to the Eagles overall in that division, you have to start with Dallas. Adding Brandon Cooks on the offensive side to go with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup is going to open up that passing game. If Pollard comes back healthy, they got a good running game. They still need a backup run. I think Dallas, and people don't want to hear this, Dallas is without a doubt the Eagles' biggest threat in that division and in the NFC in a lot of ways, if you think about it.
Right. And I think that's where the real argument can be made here. Like, definitely San Francisco, and we know the way that they finished the year. They finished very strong. Of course, it ends with the Eagles knocking them out. But yeah, I mean, I think people almost automatically put the 49ers ahead of the Cowboys when we have these arguments. There's 2 glaring things about both of those teams. This is where I think the Eagles have the advantage. I don't like Mike McCarthy as a head coach, and now he's calling the plays. And then you go to San Francisco, and you just don't know about the quarterback. Purdy may come back and be fine, and he may turn out to be the steal of the draft that we saw with Mr. Irrelevant and all that. But right now, we don't know. With the Eagles, you have a coach who's established, who got to a Super Bowl last year. You have a quarterback who was a runner-up MVP, who got within 3 points of winning a Super Bowl. That's advantage Eagles, especially when everything else is almost equal. I just mentioned the points per game with all 3 of those teams. It's pretty close. San Fran, certainly on paper, has a better defense overall than the Eagles and the Cowboys do. No argument. But the quarterback means a lot, and the coach means a lot.
There's no question about it. If Purdy comes back and plays anywhere near close to what he played like last year, 49ers are going to be a monster. I think the 49ers have the most physical defense in all of pro football. When you look at what they did last year, the defense kept them in so many games. This defense barely gave up 300 yards a game. They gave up 16 points a game. Now, obviously, it fell apart in the playoff game against the Eagles, but that's the past. I'm talking about moving forward now. If Purdy plays, I do believe Purdy is the guy they really want to be under center for that team. If he plays anywhere close to what he did and you look at what he's surrounded with on that team, weapons-wise, you have one of the most rugged tight ends in the game. You have probably one of the top 2 best Swiss Army knives in the game in Debo. I like Brandon Ayuk. I like the running game. They're physical in the trenches on offensive line. Their defense is nasty, and they added Hargrave to the mix as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think 49ers are going to be a nasty team to deal with. So I would say within a division, it has to be Dallas. The biggest threat to the Eagles across the board in the NFC has to be the 49ers if they get the quarterback issue settled.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. And like John Doe says, and that's how you have to equate it. Way too early to tell about Purdy. Absolutely. But what Kyle Shanahan has showed last year, which is still phenomenal, which a lot of people overlook, that man went through 3 different quarterbacks last year, and that machine kept rolling. And they put a kid named Mr. Irrelevant in there, and they went on a winning streak with him in there.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they would have beat the Eagles had he been healthy, because the Eagles had that game in their backyard with that ferocious pass rush they had. Barbara Carroll seems to think the 48ers window is closing. I don't agree with that one.
I don't agree with that either.
Not even close. I don't think I think that window is still wide open, but it's a big if the quarterback can stay healthy. That's a big if.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If it was something other than that position, if it was, hey, they're a little short at defense. I don't know. It's quarterback. It's the most important position there is. And the biggest thing for Dallas is everybody knows how talented Dak is and all those kind of things. You're right. Stephon Gilmore, that's and Brandon Cooks, they're nice additions.
Those are big additions. Those are big additions for that team.
But it's
still is a major deep threat.
And it just seem like, though, every single year we have the same talk about Dallas. Wow, they're talented, and they just for whatever reason they come up small. So they're kind of like the Sixers in a lot of ways.
Yep, I agree. Great analogy.
Right, a lot of talent, but in where are you in the biggest of games? And that's Dallas could go through the regular season and be 12-5 or whatever, and 11-6. And then we could say to ourselves, okay, great. That's great. But what are you going to do in the playoffs? Because Dak has now a history of not doing well in big games. And Mike McCarthy, certainly since he left Green Bay, doesn't have a great rep as far as that goes either. So I think those two really have a lot to prove in the big spots.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. There's no question about it. Dak has got to find a way to get this dark cloud from over his head that he can't rise to the occasion in big games. He puts up great regular season numbers, and the time he performs in the playoffs, there's always something that costs him. Now, you can't just totally blame it on him, but, he contributes to the demise of that team in the biggest of moments. So look at where he is in his career now. There's no excuse, if he's healthy, 100% healthy, for him not being able to finally get through that dark cloud. I think Dallas has the talent on both sides of the football to be a force to be reckoned with, but with that head coach, and now he's calling the plays as well. You know me, you know how I feel about Mike McCarthy. I think he's going to be a big contributor to this team's demise calling plays. I really do. Talent-wise, they can play with anybody in the league just about. It's maybe except a few teams. Mm-hmm. But that head coach calling the plays is going to cost them somewhere. And this could be his last year in Dallas.
So if we get beyond the NFC East and we get beyond the 49ers, that's where I think you really start to fall off a cliff, in terms of like the teams that you really concern yourself with. Minnesota's a team that's going to be there. They're going to score some points. But they haven't been able to get it done, come playoff time. Detroit's going to be better. Excuse me. But is Detroit going to be, ready for prime time in the playoffs? Is anybody in the South, other than the Niners, is Seattle that real in your estimation in the West? I mean, they're another one to look at here.
Here's a team. Now, Detroit, they got to do it. I mean, Detroit's an exciting team. And every time I turn on NFL Network, ESPN, just like us, everybody's talking about the prospects of Detroit this year. Yeah. The one team I think we really have to keep an eye on in the NFC is down in New Orleans. With Derek Carr taking over that team with the weapons they have on both sides of the football, and they were a good defensive team as well. Yeah. I think we got to keep an eye on New Orleans. Now, I don't know if New Orleans somehow, some way found a way to get home field advantage in the playoffs. New Orleans is going to be a pain in the butt to deal with in their backyard. You get them on the road, it's a different story. But you're down there in New Orleans in that dome, that team could be a problem. If if Derek Carr puts up numbers like he did with the Raiders, with those weapons he has down there, and if Michael Thomas comes all the way back, that team is going to be a problem for everybody in the NFC. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and you're right. There's a lot to find out about Dennis Allen. That's going to be one of the big things is just what is this guy as a head coach? Pretty good coordinator. It didn't go all that well, but I can't necessarily blame him way 100 years ago in Oakland. But how good is he going to be as a head coach if he's actually legitimately got some talent?
And I love Pete Carmichael as their offensive coordinator down there. You look at what he did with Drew Brees when Sean Payton was there. He's still there. He's very creative with his offenses. And it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out with Taysom Hill getting more reps at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill's role with New Orleans has always fascinated me the same way Deebo Samuel has with the 49ers. Taysom Hill is strong, just like Deebo. He can run. He can be utilized as a running back, a tight end, an H-back, wide receiver, jet sweeps. He's a big factor in that offense. And JM has a good point. Is Kamara playing this year? We're still waiting to find out.
That thing's been dragging on forever.
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody said anything about it. I think he's going to get at least 6 games.
I don't know how he doesn't, but because it doesn't have to just be letter of the law. Goodell can do whatever he wants, but I would think.
Yeah.
But he didn't give him anything last year. I guess maybe because they were still gathering facts. I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't look good for him because a lot of that's on video. So, but
the league always drags its feet on and stuff like that, and it hurts teams because sometimes decisions don't come down until after a season starts. You're like, wait a minute, you've been sitting on this forever. You could have made a definitive decision a long time ago.
It's one of the things that really frustrates everybody around the league.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. So with him, because he's such a big part of that offense as well, I'm sure the Saints are thinking, if you're going to dock him, hit him the first 6 games so we can move on. So when we hit the crucial stretch of our season, we have him at our disposal to do what we need to do. Don't wait until the middle of the season to shut him down at the middle of the season. We're in a battle for a divisional race. I wouldn't wish that on any team. I think at this point, I think you have all the facts you need. The NFL has all the lawyers, all the investigators they need to do whatever they want as swiftly as they want, and yet they still drag their feet. You have all the information you need. You know what you want to do, what you need to do. Go ahead and do it. Whether it's 2 games, 4 games, 6 games, go ahead and do it. So the team knows. That's with any team.
We didn't really give Washington much time. So let me ask you about them for a second here. A lot of talent on that defensive line for sure. And now you throw Bieniemy over there in general. Should we be paying them a little bit more mind? Would be my question.
I think so. I mean, think about this, Rob. Washington, out of all teams, had the 3rd best defense in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Washington?
Yeah.
They gave up 20 points a game. As bad as they were, they couldn't score, but they only gave up 20 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So granted, you don't have the quarterback you want right now, but you have one of the premier play callers, play designers. And some people are on the fence, well, he was a byproduct of Andy Reid. But Andy Reid has come out and said Eric Bieniemy was an integral part of what we did offensively. Patrick Mahomes has come out and said it as well. So I think they're going to be a more unpredictable offense. And when you look at everything they have around whoever the quarterback is,
yeah,
they have the weapons to be a very creative offense. They have the pass catchers, they have the running backs. The offensive line was a problem last year. How much better will the offensive line be? The 2 biggest factors: how much better will that offensive line be, and who's quarterback in this team? Those are huge factors for this team. Huge factors.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to take them in consideration when you look at the 3 guys they have up front, the 4 guys up front. I mean, seriously, Chase Young, Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you feel good putting them up against most teams. I mean,
Heck
honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heck yes. And they drafted Emmanuel Forbes in the 1st round. So they're going to have a young corner to go along with Kendall Fuller on the other side. So they've got talent. I don't think they have enough talent to score with a lot of teams they're going to have to play. But they're going to make you work. You're going to work to play against Washington. They're not going to be a pushover.
That's why too, like, we can talk about all these things ultimately, all the good that these teams have, but if they don't have the quarterback, it won't matter. Even with Bieniemy there, it won't matter. Like he'll do enough to kind of dress it up and make it look good and all that, but it won't matter ultimately. There's only so much he can do. He's not out on the field.
No. I see. I like discussions like this because outside of the Eagles, we know what the Eagles are because we hone in on them. We know what to expect from them. But when it comes to the other entities, there's so many question marks about this team. Just go up and down the division. We talked about Dallas. Can Dak cut down the interceptions, which was uncustomary for him last year? Mm-hmm. Normally Dak has been pretty good at protecting the football.
Yeah, up until this last year. Yeah,
up until his last season. How much better in Brian Daboll's second year can they make the Giants? They went out, they added a few pieces, brought some pieces in, re-signed some key pieces. Will that make them a better team? They came from out of nowhere and were a playoff team. They shocked the world, got in the playoff, got embarrassed by the Eagles in the playoffs, but that's part of the growing pains you go through. The year before, the Eagles got embarrassed by Tampa Bay, and then look at what happened their second year. They make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, the Giants don't have a Jalen Hurts, but Daniel Jones played his best football under Brian Daboll.
Yep.
Washington, they have the talent to be successful. Quarterback, offensive line, big question marks, but you got a good play caller in Eric Bieniemy. And this is a pivotal year for let's face it, Ron Rivera. This is a hot seat year for Ron Rivera.
Oh, for sure. Like if you look at NFC hot seats, I'd say Rivera. And some of this isn't fair, but it's just the way this works. Let me ask you about Green Bay. Is LaFleur in trouble if they have a terrible season?
No.
Okay. You think he's safe? Okay.
Green Bay's one of those teams that hold on to coaches sometimes a year too long. And I think LaFleur's brought himself an extra season because they're making a transition in quarterbacks.
Okay.
And because they have no veteran wide receivers. Their best wide receiver is a second-year kid in Christian Watson. Who's still evolving.
Yep.
When you look at their collection of receivers, they got a bunch of kids running around like Keystone Cops out there.
Yeah.
They have more speed than they've had in recent years, but they're the rawest they've ever been. And because the defensive coordinator's defense when they were healthy, they had 7 former first-round picks on that defense, and that defense imploded. It's more on the defensive coordinator than it was a head coach. Then, of course, they had to deal with the diva, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
so now Aaron Rodgers is out of the way. You've got young Jordan Love taking over with a bunch of young pass catchers, and the defense has to hold up his end of the deal. So I think LaFleur has at least one more year before the seat gets hotter under him.
Okay. I would say if I had to put others in a hot seat category, I think Dennis Allen, if they don't have a good year in New Orleans, is out. I think Todd Bowles is likely out.
I agree.
I would say I think everybody in the West is safe because the Cardinals, it's a first-year coach with Gannon. McVay, I think, decides whether he leaves or not. We know Shanahan and Carroll aren't going anywhere. So I would say they're right. I'd say there's 2 in the South. That's about it. And then Allen and Bowles. Yeah,
I agree.
But that's pretty much it. I mean, for the most part, it's either established guys or new enough guys. They need a little bit of time there. But you make a good point, though, about Dable and what he was able to do with Daniel Jones. Could that be what Bieniemy does for Sam Howell?
Could very well be the case. Could be the case.
Yeah.
You look at Kansas City's offense, a lot of motion, quarterback moving, parts moving. And you look at what the Giants did with Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. Moving a lot of moving pre-snap moves before the ball snapped, made Daniel Jones a much better quarterback. You're right. Can Bieniemy do the same thing with the way he likes to run an offensive deception? I remember Travis Kelce and Mahomes saying sometimes they've run the same play off of like 5 or 6 different formations.
Right.
And I can see Washington doing a lot of that to keep a defense on its heels or to keep a defense guessing. Mm-hmm. If that is the case, whoever's under center, I'm not saying is going to emerge as an elite quarterback, but will be a much more efficient quarterback, which could equate to more wins.
Sure.
The defense speaks for itself. I'm sitting here going, I had to look at that twice. I'm like, wait a minute. Washington was the number 3 defense in the league last year.
Yeah, I forgot about, they were number, let's see, 3 was in terms of points per game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were 7th.
Yes.
Darn good.
You
They gave
hold
up
a team to
20.2. The Eagles gave up 20.2.
You hold a team to 20 points a game, you're in most games.
Yeah.
You're 50-50 in wins and losses in games like that.
Yeah. I forgot the Jets. The Jets were 4th in points per game allowed.
Look at that. And what were they missing? A quarterback.
Right. Yep. That's
Now
why a lot of this other stuff is great, but you better have the quarterback. Now they have a quarterback. They brought in reinforcements at wide receivers. Yep.
They've already got a lockdown defense, even with Clark going down with an ACL tear. That defense of the Jets is going to be nasty as well.
No question. No question. All right. So generally we do our NFL segment at 2:00. We're going to move it up to 1:30. So we'll do that next because we have Jason Kelsey at 2:00. Don't forget, Crawl Space Tour.
2:30, baby. 2:30.
So Kelsey Crawl Space Tour. Does it get any better than that? I mean,
2:00. Future Hall of Famer. 2:30. We go into the coal mines. I can't wait, baby. I can't wait.
So you don't want to go anywhere. Tell a friend. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. He's Derek. I'm Rob. All right, let's tell everybody right now about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, Pro Action Restoration is the place that you reach out to if your home, business, property you own goes through the inconvenience, the pain, the concern, the troubling, disheartening concern. If you get water damage, you get fire, you get smoke, you get mold. You're not really sure who to turn to. Well, turn to Pro Action Restoration because they're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I experienced it years ago at my parents' house. I reached out to them on a Saturday and they got right out. They fixed it. The crew was great. It could not have been a better experience. They are licensed, bonded, and fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action Restoration will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, it could be water, it could be fire, it could be smoke damage, mold remediation. You name it. They can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
We are Sports Take. We are back. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Please hit the like button if you could. He's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. And by the way, we'll have Jason Kelsey coming up at the top of the hour. We had Brandon Graham on a couple of days back. So if you miss any of that, we had Tom McCarthy on yesterday. If you miss any of our interviews, just go to JAKIBSports.com or JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. You can catch those in their entirety. If you really enjoy the Kelsey interview, you can always go back and watch it at those same places as well. All right. I found this one interesting, Derek. And I wonder that we haven't sort of opened up a Pandora's box where we're going to see this in all sports or as time goes on or whatever. But so there's a lot of momentum and a lot of talk about potentially a lawsuit coming for the Eagles Super Bowl 57 loss.
Right.
The reason being, it was found to be by the NFL that there was tampering done between the Cardinals and then Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, now the Cardinals head coach. Eagles, in fact, were awarded, a draft pick flip and all that other stuff. So the thought is Gannon was distracted in the Super Bowl, which hurt the Eagles' cause in the Super Bowl. Therefore, people who bet the Eagles in the Super Bowl could potentially have a lawsuit on their hands if it can be proven that Gannon was distracted enough that he didn't perform at his peak duties for the team. Whoa.
I don't hear that. I don't hear that mess. I don't care who's calling plays. The players are playing the game. You got to make plays. You got Pro Bowlers all over the field. I don't care who's calling. You and I could have coordinated that game. And the players know at that stage, you're in the – what did they finish up? 17-3? What was the final? Let's see, 14-19. You played enough games.
They were 16-4 of the entirety of the season. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. At that stage of the season, you got enough games under your belt. The players are not going to make mistakes and make excuses. I want to hear this about the coordinator was distracted. I want to hear that mess. You know what? People, you can sue for anything nowadays. Okay? You can attempt to sue for anything. They lost the game. The players will tell you they lost the game. What did Brandon Graham say? All we talked about was we just had to make one stop. One stop. And Kansas City was one step ahead of them the entire second half offensively. That's what it comes down to.
And not only the Eagles players wouldn't even bite on the slippery turf. They wouldn't even bite on that. But Derek, I agree with you. Like, your premise is right on. And first of all, how are you ultimately going to prove that Gannon was distracted? We're going to get inside the guy's head. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be very hard to prove, but it doesn't mean that people won't try it. They'll try anything when it comes to money in terms of litigation. I just wonder how there's going to be things like this going forward. Think about if a team conceals an injury and a guy, you find out at the last second, the guy's not playing that night, and you put a bet in a half hour before the game. There are going to be people going after the team for that. You know what I mean? It's a very slippery slope now that they're in bed with the gambling folks.
Yes. Yes. And I understand that, gamblers, who lose money and crying foul. I get it. But you know what? The players play the game. Draft day says, Gun, you're blind. When we start playing press in the AB. Wait, in the what? In the AB. What's the AB? What the heck is the AB?
I don't know what he means by AB.
I don't either. Anyway.
So in other words, the thought is what? Gannon's sitting there calling a game and thinking, man, I can't wait to be a Cardinal. He's really not paying attention to the Super Bowl every single play. Give me a break. These guys
will win a ring. Really?
These guys do this their entire life. They work their way up from sometimes grade school, high school, lower level college gigs to get to that stage. I guarantee you, however you feel about Jonathan Gannon, and I get everybody hates Jonathan Gannon, the guy was trying and locked in on. So you may not agree with every play call, but it wasn't because he was not giving his full effort Super Bowl night. I'm sorry.
Funny, they held Kansas City in check the first half. Was he not focused then?
Right.
Calling the right team, hold him in check then, and then all of a sudden he just took the second half off mentally? I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
No. And let me say it again. Kansas City was one step ahead of them offensively every play the second half.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. I don't care how many people want to sit here and deny it. The bottom line is they got outfoxed in the second half, and the players will admit it. Brandon Graham admitted it. How many times does it have to be said? You keep making excuses for why they lost the Super Bowl. Neither team blamed the slippery field. Your head coach, Nick Sirianni, stepped at the podium right after that heartbreaking loss and said, both teams had to play on the same surface.
So did
That's
Howie.
all you need to know.
So did
That's
Howie.
all you need to know.
Yep. Well, I think the other thing you have to take into account, like, stuff happens during the game. Like, how great was Jalen Hurts that whole game with the exception of one play? He was incredible,
Absolutely.
right? Incredible.
Absolutely.
He made a mistake. He's a human being. If you extract those 7 points, Derek, we're not having this conversation because the Eagles win the game.
Absolutely. That play was huge in terms of momentum swing. The punt return was huge in terms of momentum swing also.
And that's not Gannon.
Was that on Gannon also? Was that Gannon too?
Nope.
You know, Michael Clay, his special teams have been iffy all year long.
Yeah.
People have been calling out Jonathan Gannon more than Michael Clay.
No doubt. Clay gets a free pass because everybody wants to crap on Gannon. Here's the thing, too, Derek, honestly, let's even say for a second, if you take the 7 out, the Eagles win anyway, but let's forget that for a minute. Even if it's a punt return, even if that guy, if you can hold them to 3 after that punt return, that's 4 additional points and you still win.
Absolutely.
You know, you gave the defense no chance on, when they take it over at like the 7-yard line or whatever it was. You think Mahomes was going to be stopped? And he wasn't. Nobody was stopping Mahomes in that situation.
No.
And that's the other part. It's freaking Patrick Mahomes, man. You weren't going against, all due respect, Trent Dilfer, you know, for the Ravens 100 years ago. You were going against a future Hall of Famer. So
there were 15 teams the Eagles would have beat from the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they faced that 16th team, the one team that could go toe-to-toe with them.
Right.
And unfortunately, the score came out on the wrong side of the ledger for the Eagles.
Right.
Plain and simple.
No question.
They would have beat anybody else in the AFC in that Super Bowl game.
Yeah. So look, it's a thing. It's going to be talked about. Do I think ultimately it's going to be proven? No. But do I think we're going to see more of this in sports? I do. I think we're going to see more of this in sports for sure.
I agree.
Let me pass this one along. Deion Sanders getting emergency surgery for a blood clot in his groin. Man, he's had a lot of health problems. Oof. There's still a chance he may lose one of his feet because of
his left foot. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor circulation. So, you know, he seems to be in good spirits. I saw a picture of him. He's you know, thumbs up and all that, but yeah, obviously serious stuff there. So yeah,
dude,
tough.
Such a positive individual, a great, phenomenal Hall of Fame athlete. You hate to see him going through that stuff, this kind of stuff now. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. Appreciate your help. Your health, if you have it, man. That's all I can tell you.
If you ever want to see a guy who's going to lean on his faith, going through all this stuff, it will be Deion Sanders. I can guarantee you that. And it's a shame he has to go through this.
Yep. Hopefully they caught it, early enough. And
man. Whoa.
Hey, I hear you. Beyond that, so this is a blow to the Jets. They lost Chuck Clark, their safety, toward his ACL earlier this month. He is done for the year. In response to that, you remember they signed Adrian Amos, which is nice little signing. But he was Clark's 28. He was acquired in March from the Ravens. They sent they didn't give up much. I mean, they gave up a 7th rounder for Clark, who's played it. Ironically, has been a machine. He's played in 96 of 97 games in his career. So the guy shows up every game. It's a shame. He's it's kind of bad luck.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. So
it is. But now it magnifies that signing of Adrian Amos even more so because you know me. I was hoping Green Bay would resign him and they didn't. He's going to be a good addition on the back end of that and that defense is still going to be a top 10 defense.
Oh yeah,
still going to be.
Defensive line is really good for the Jets. So there's and linebackers too. There's a lot of talent there in New York. That's for sure. Yeah, it's going to come down to how soon the offense gets clicking with Rodgers. I think they're a playoff team.
I do too.
You know, can they get past the big boys, Cincinnati and Kansas City and in their own division, Buffalo? I don't know that they're there yet, but I think they're going to be in the playoffs and they're going to be a fun team to watch and keep an eye on.
You know, that AFC is so stacked with talent, man. Yeah. It's like, I say there's 2 teams in the AFC that you can guarantee will be in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, in the playoffs. Kansas City and Buffalo. And I've said I don't know if Buffalo's going to win a division, but I believe Buffalo's a playoff team. When you look at the other teams, there's so many if factors involved. Miami, if Tua can stay healthy. Jets.
I threw Cincinnati into that group, Derek.
But Cincinnati, you're right. So three teams.
Yep.
We don't know what to expect from Deshaun Watson with that team. The defense is good. Is Deshaun Watson finally having a new year, a full year in Stefanski's offense? Is that the magic trick for them? Pittsburgh, are they going to be much better? Can Sean Payton resurrect Russell Wilson? Brandon Staley always finds a way. The Chargers always find a way to mess things up. Will Garoppolo quarterback the Raiders? The Raiders have the talent. They need a quarterback. The only teams that we know that are not going to be in the playoffs this year are Indianapolis,
Houston.
Are you
talking about in the AFC or both division? Both
just in AFC.
I don't like Tennessee, but I can't say they're definitely not going to be in the playoffs. But I don't really like them. You're right. It's crazy. You could make a case for Buffalo, Miami, New England, New York, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Jacksonville. Tennessee. Denver, Kansas City, the Chargers, maybe even the Raiders. There's 2 or 3 teams total in the AFC that you say, no way. That's it.
Absolutely. The NFC, you look at the NFC, you say, Bears, no. Carolina, Tampa, Rams, Arizona. You can keep going down the list in the NFC. There's a small group of teams that you expect to be competing for playoff spots in the NFC. Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, Eagles, Dallas, Giants, New Orleans, Seattle, 49ers. But you got 5 or 6 teams, you automatically say, no.
Way harder path in the AFC.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. All right. So we will continue to do this all the way up until training camp starts. So we're going to go through each of the teams and their greatest players. So far we have done the Giants. And who else did we do? We did the Giants and the Steelers. So we're going to do the Chiefs today. Giants and Steelers thus far. Today we do the Chiefs. So the way this works is, look, it's subjective, but it's the greatest players, and we do about 10 for every organization. So Gunnar, you have the floor. You could take whoever you want first for the KC Chiefs.
Well, two players on my list are still playing with the team, as funny as it sounds. But I would have to say let's start with Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes still has an awful lot of football to play, but he's already on that list. That young man's 27 years old. He already holds 5 or 6 records. You look at the dude's won 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He has tied the record for most passing touchdowns in one postseason with 11. He was a 2018 Offensive Player of the Year. He's already a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time first-team All-Pro. He has 35 postseason touchdowns already in his young career. 35 postseason touchdowns in his young career already.
Insane.
In his career, he has averaged 303 yards passing a game. It's ridiculous. He already has – now, here's the thing that stands out the most. As much as Kansas City likes to pass, he has 192 TD passes and only 49 interceptions.
Oh, my God.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to just start with Patrick Mahomes, and I want to make it fair so you can get some input in there as well. So I'm just going to start with just Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. Look, I would agree with you. I think when all is said and done, it's not fair to say this yet because he has to do it for more years. I think he goes down as the greatest Chief when it's over.
I agree. I agree. 100%.
For everything you just said, and he's so young. He's got so many more years. And I think he's going to be coaching. Andy Reid's going to be coaching him for at least maybe 5 more years.
Andy Reid is 66 now. You think he'll coach to 71?
I mean, he loves it, Derek.
66 now. Andy Reid's a lifelong coach. You're gonna have to.
That's what I mean. What would you see him doing? What would you see Andy doing?
I don't know. I don't know if Andy Reid could function without football in his life. He loves being around young men. He loves molding, and he loves the camaraderie. He loves coaching. He loves teaching. He loves everything about the game. Whereas not most, but a lot of coaches talk about the grind and what you give up in terms of family, being there for your kids. Andy Reid loves everything there is to love about football. Being there 6 a.m. in the morning, being there till midnight, preparing for another opponent. John Doe says GM for Andy Reid. I don't think Andy Reid would ever be a GM. I think that would kill Andy Reid to be a GM. He likes to be hands-on in the trenches, in the huddles, in the locker room, sharing the moments with his players. Game planning, yes.
Yep, I agree.
So,
all right, so I would agree with you. With I'll just go to the other guy who's currently playing, who no doubt is going to go down as an all-time chief, and it's Travis Kelce. I mean, look, the numbers that he's putting up at the tight end position, and he's another one. You don't see any signs of him slowing down. We always he and Jason are very close in age. We talk about Jason all the time retiring. Travis, it's not even a whisper. So as long as he's playing with Mahomes, I don't see him going anywhere. He's going to challenge any tight end numbers maybe we've ever seen in the NFL.
All you need to know is this about Travis Kelce. At this stage of his career, he holds the record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons for a tight end. His last 7 seasons, he's been over 1,000 yards receiving. He also holds the record for most 100 catch seasons for a tight end and 100-yard games for a tight end, and he's still in the midst of his career. Okay.
Right.
What else? He's an 8-time Pro Bowler and a 7-time All-Pro. What else do you need to know about him?
And he plays his best in the big games. Think about how many clutch, back-breaking first downs or touchdowns this guy's gotten in the playoffs, with Mahomes. And again, it doesn't matter what the situation is. He comes up big. Nobody can cover him. No defense can cover him. No.
Safeties can't even cover him.
Yeah. So without a doubt, those two. All right. Who would be another one you throw in there?
I would have to throw in Tony Gonzalez, one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game.
Mm-hmm.
He played 17 seasons in the National Football League, played 12 of them in Kansas City, and played the last 5 down in Atlanta. He has over 15,000 receiving yards for a tight end. That's a record for tight ends. He has over 1,300 catches, 10-time All-Pro, first-team All-Pro, 14-time Pro Bowler in his 17 years, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. He was like a Travis Kelce. You couldn't cover him. You couldn't cover the dude.
Yep.
And for him to put up those kind of numbers, I mean, those are receiving numbers for a career that he put up from a tight end position. That's what he was. He was big enough to outmuscle people, but he was also like a Kelce, lean enough to where he can run and get separation from linebackers and safeties. One of the best that ever played the game at that position, Tony Gonzalez, no question about it.
I agree with you. 100% I agree with you. That guy was straight up dominant. All right. I'll give a little love to a couple others here. I got to go Derek Thomas. Can't wait any longer on this one. And unfortunately, life and career cut short, but he had 126 and a half sacks. Realize he had 41 forced fumbles. 41 in his career. 9 Pro Bowls. He's in the Hall of Fame. And again, it's terrible ending. But he was the prototypical edge pass rusher. He was quick, fast, had all the moves, was great at stripping the quarterback, hence the 41 forced fumbles. But Derek Thomas was a machine unto himself. Just a beast, an unstoppable beast.
He set a record back in 1990 against Seattle. He had 7 sacks in a game.
Yeah.
7 sacks by himself in a game. And then a year later, he had 6.5 in another game. What he was able to do, you couldn't stop. No matter how you try to scheme for him, you couldn't stop him. When you talk about the best rushers, some of the best rushers in the game, you start with a Lawrence Taylor, who changed the way the outside linebacking play. But then Derek Thomas was right on his heels in terms of just phenomenal talent, unable to stop him in all facets of the game. And you're right, unfortunately, a car accident cost him his life in 2000. But man, to watch him play was a thing of beauty.
Yes, he was pure greatness, pure greatness. All right, you're up. Your turn.
Let's see. I would have to go with Willie Lanier. His nickname was Contact. He had such a unique tackling style that it forced equipment managers to add additional padding to his helmet. The dude was unbelievable. I mean, when he hit you, he didn't just hit you. You could feel it. When you were watching the game, you could feel it. Anybody hits that hard, and you can sit there and watch on TV and feel it. That dude's thumping people. He had 20 as a linebacker. He had 27 interceptions. He played all 10 of his years in Kansas City. He had 18 fumble recoveries. He was an incredible outside linebacker. He was the heart and soul of the Kansas City defense. And, of course, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. But just a phenomenal talent in all facets of the game. I just loved everything about Willie Lanier watching him play.
Okay. I'll go Buck Buchanan. Again, these guys are a little bit older, but 8 Pro Bowls, 4 All-Pros, just a dominant, had to account for him with multiple people every single time the guy went out there. Defensive lineman who was just, great. These guys, a lot of the older guys that we're talking about here contributed to those early Chief teams that were great in the AFL. And then in the early years when the NFL and the AFL played in the Super Bowl, these guys were there as well. So great player, great player. Yep.
All right. In one stretch, he played in 166 consecutive games.
As a defensive lineman, where every day is combat. Yep.
Another guy I have to add to the mix, Lenny Dawson. You have to add Lenny Dawson. He played with their team from 1962 to 1975. In 1962, as a rookie, he led the old AFL in passing touchdowns, and he was also the AFL MVP in his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at his overall numbers, they don't impress you that much. 28,700 passing yards, 239 touchdowns. But those were phenomenal numbers for his era when you consider how much they'd love to run the football back then. Passing wasn't – outside of Joe Namath back in that era, passing wasn't as prominent as it is now.
Oh, but not even close.
But he was such a good quarterback, such a good field leader, obviously inducted into the Hall of Fame. And after that, had a great career in television for a long time, both nationally and locally in Kansas City. You can't have a list without putting Lenny Dawson on that list.
Yeah, I agree. I would have Dawson on there. If I was going to throw anybody in there, look, I thought about Neil Smith, who was a really good defensive lineman for them in the 80s and the 90s. He was really good. Johnny Robinson was a safety for them who had 57 interceptions in his career. He started his career as a running back. And then transformed over there. Was a great player. Emmett Thomas, who was the old Eagles defensive coordinator, was a great player for them as a corner. I mean, all really good. All really good. Anybody else that you would throw in there?
Put Emmett Thomas on my list because I think he's probably the greatest undrafted cornerback to ever play the game. He had 58 career interceptions. He's 12th all time right now in terms of interceptions. He came out of a small college, Bishop College. People wondered if he would even make the team, and all he did was turn out and set all these records. He holds the Chiefs records for interceptions. He turned out to be a really good coach for a long time in the National Football League. His best season was 1974 when he led the NFL with 12 picks. Mm-hmm. Had a long, illustrious career and parlayed that into a Hall of Fame. Think about it. He goes from being undrafted. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. Emmett Thomas was a phenomenal cornerback when he played. The only other player I would put on that list would probably be Will Shields.
Yes.
Will Shields was one of the greatest offensive guards that ever played the game. Played 14 years, all 14 years in Kansas City. He's a Hall of Famer as well. He in a lot of ways, he redefined that guard position. Didn't give up a lot of sacks, just a mountain of a man to move people off the ball. Steady as they come. If you ever get a chance, and you're right, Big Sills, you're right. He's on my list also. Bobby Bell is also on the list. Defensive end. He started his first 2 years as a defensive end. Then they moved him to outside linebacker for the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. And this guy had 24 interceptions. And he had two interceptions as a defensive end, 24 interceptions from the outside linebacking position. He holds the franchise record with 6 interception returned for a touchdown.
Wow.
That says a lot about a line.
That's impressive. That is impressive. All right. That was fun. Let's get a timeout. We want to make sure we get back in time for Jason Kelsey. Jason Kelsey coming your way next. So don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They're just a quick phone call away, and they're experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Flynn Tree Services specializes in tree removal, stump grinding, as well as tree pruning. You go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or you can reach them online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
again.
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We're back. We are Sports Take. Thanks for hanging out with us. I am Rob Ellis. He is Derek Gunn. And man, are we excited to talk to our next guest. It's been a minute since we've had Jason on, and D Gunn's been pestering him enough. He finally gave in.
I've been pestering him for 2 years.
I know, exactly right. And there he
I've been trying
is.
to get this man for 2 years.
Jason, it's all right to say it that he's a pest. It's okay.
Hey, there's no better pest than D Gunn. Yeah, no, it's not an issue. Happy to finally make it work.
Yeah, we appreciate it,
man.
Jason. I would hit you with this one first. We talk about it all the time. We love the New Heights podcast with yourself and Travis, and I think it's gotten unbelievable. Just reviews.
Incredible.
Buzz. People love it. Favorite guest that you guys have had on? Who would you say it is?
Oh man, Jalen Hurts was really good. I thought that that was our first guest for the most part. We had it was our first official guest. We had a surprise birthday party deal with Paul Rudd, but that was our first kind of test at having a full show with Jalen, and it was really special. Recently, we had Charles Barkley on, big childhood idol, who we looked up to in our household, and so I think that was a good one. And then Andy Reid, and all he's meant to us, and Howie Roseman. We've been fortunate. We've had a lot of really, really good people on, but I would say probably Chuck and the first one in Jalen were my personal two favorites.
Hey, Jason, do you guys take the show on the road? And who books your guests for you weekly?
Yeah, our production team does a lot of the booking.
Okay.
We'll reach out a lot of the times if it's especially a personal connection, and then they kind of facilitate it from there. And then outside of that, sometimes they'll handle it just from the jump. But a lot of the guests we've had on, Travis and I have been pointed to kind of have them specifically on, and we know them, so we've kind of extended the ask. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes down.
Wow. Do you guys do any prep, or is it better for you guys if it's just off the cuff and you roll before you do a show?
Yeah, we do prep. We do prep right before the show. They usually, depending on, how in advance the show is scheduled, sometimes we kind of got to move around Travis's schedule mainly, or my schedule, with how busy he is these days. But for the most part, we'll get a rundown the night before, and we kind of all go over it, look it through, add things that maybe we want to talk about, take things out that we're like, hey, we don't really want to touch on that. And before the show, we'll do that again. But, the best parts of the show and the parts that I think the fans of it respond the best to tend to be the stuff that we just comes off the cuff, and randomly there'll be something that'll pop up that we did through the week, or a movie we saw, or whatever. And that ends up being a lot of the times the stuff that gets the most viral attraction.
My favorite segment, I told this to Derek. You guys sat there and you did the picture of all the coaches at the owners meetings or whatever it was.
How about that?
And Travis didn't know who Brandon Staley was, who's in his own division.
or Josh McDaniels. He missed both of them. And, I would love to give him, a bunch of crap for it. But that's an example right there. That portion wasn't actually in the rundown, right? We knew we were going over the photo, and in the midst of going over the photo, I'm like, dude, I don't think I could name some of these guys. I'm like, let's do it. Let's see if you can start left to right. Let's see how many you get. And then I did it after him, but his was a lot funnier. So we ended up putting that one in the show. But I missed a lot of them too. It's an awkward photo to see and try and pick guys out of, but that was probably one of my favorite parts of
it was awesome
of the show too. That was a fun one.
In all the years I've known you, I've said two things. Number one, when this man steps in front of a microphone to speaks with passion, speaks with honesty, and is always insightful. But number two, he's not one who actively seeks the camera like some players do. They love being in front of the camera. So I have to ask you, who talked you into doing a podcast?
Well, sorry about that. My brother and I have talked about it for a while. I think that it's always been something that we've kind of toyed around with. We've always tried to figure something out that we can do together. And, whether it's a game show, like we've had so many different ideas. Right. And, I think a podcast seemed to be the easiest because you can do it remotely.
Right.
You don't have to be in the same space. It offers the most flexibility. So we've thought about it for a number of years. His team, A&A management, has been trying to facilitate kind of a way to make that happen, and kind of got linked up with the right crew that, all the pieces just came together. And I think we felt more comfortable also seeing other players do it and have success, and not, a big worry about starting the podcast was, how the season doesn't go well. This ain't going to go over well, especially in Philadelphia. You're going to see blowback from it. So I think we were both pretty confident with how our teams were going to do. Draymond Green was fresh off of starting his podcast and going to the finals in the NBA the year before we did it. So there was a lot of stuff that was like, you know what, it's worth taking a stab at and getting it going. I reached out to Chris Long, who obviously played with for a couple years. And he was like, man, my biggest advice is start it while you're still playing. It's going to gain so much traction quicker if you do it while you're still playing. And glad I certainly heeded that advice.
You've had a lot of like pinch me moments in your life. I mean, certainly the playing Travis in the Super Bowl and how crazy that was. But when he was hosting SNL, and you were great too in your cameos that you made. Is there ever a minute where you're sitting in the seats and you're like, dude, my brother's on the stage right now giving a monologue for Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was very surreal. That's obviously such an iconic show that we all grew up watching. And I was, first of all, flabbergasted when he told me he was offered to host it. Right. I'm like, wait, they want you to host Saturday Night Live? Like, is this real? But then it kind of hit me again. We were doing one of the rehearsals, right? And this isn't even the dress rehearsal. I think this is the kind of running through the monologue the night before the dress rehearsal and show. And he comes out and he starts crying. And I'm like, what is going on? And I asked him after, so he kind of composed himself, finished his monologue, and they're getting set for the next deal that they're going to practice. I'm like, what? You all right? What kind of got you? What was it? And he said, dude, when I was back there, and I guess I didn't know this. I don't know if you guys know, but that little door that they come out of, that all the guests come out of where the band's playing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the hosts and people that have been there throughout the history of the show have signed it and written things on it. So like he's back there getting ready to come out and he's seeing like Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, like all these like iconic people. And I think it just all hit him at one time.
Wow.
Like, dude, I'm about to be on a stage and on a show that is like such an epic scale, and just seeing all those people, I think really just all hit him. Bam.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That is awesome.
Jason, for as much of an incredible player as you've been throughout your career, and I know you don't like to talk about it, but I think it's a slam dunk. You're going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when your time comes. That speech you gave after that Super Bowl in 2017 will go down as one of the greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. And nobody expected that from you. But I was telling Rob earlier, I said I was standing at the bottom of the stairs, and I'm standing, and everybody's in their speech, and I see you at the top, and you had a few beers along the way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm telling my producer, if Jason Kelce gets the mic, this is going to be epic. What you did far exceeded anything I thought was going to come out of your mouth. But I'm leading up to this. Did that moment bring out a side of you that you didn't know existed in terms of passion, being elaborate, and leading up to what you're doing now?
I don't know if that moment, I feel like I've always kind of lived that way. I've just never kind of had that opportunity or that stage. That moment, it felt like it was more than just me. I know that I was up there giving the speech, but it was such passion because, people, did you write it down? Like, I didn't need to write it down. I lived it. Right. So it all just came kind of flowing out. And, I was lying awake weeks leading up to that. And, I very much felt that feeling from, my whole career, the team's whole career, Nick Foles' career, Doug Peterson's, and then obviously the fans trying to get to that moment. So I think it all just culminated perfectly and came out of me. But, I don't know. I think it certainly helped go into this other stuff and definitely gave me a name right away on a much larger scale. That wasn't the emphasis of doing it, but it's definitely helped launch into other things as well.
Happy byproduct. That's
exactly.
There you go.
One of the things I know you guys had Barkley on recently as well, as you mentioned. And one of the things I admire about both of you guys a great deal is you're both very accessible. You're not, in some mansion and nobody ever gets to see you anytime. Like, I can't tell you how many people on my Facebook page will have a picture of you at the beach with their kids, right? Jason Kelce's having a catch with my son, and this is insane and whatever. But I love that. That can be tough because you do have to sometimes deal with knuckleheads. But was that a conscious decision that you made? Like, hey, look, I'm not going to be one of these guys who just hides. I'm going to live my life like I want to live my life.
Yeah, I try. I think it is a conscious decision to stay grounded and to do the things that you want to do and just live your life. It can be troubling at times for sure. There's no question about it, especially, you're out at a bar with a bunch of people that are drunk. It's not going to maybe be the best time for you sometimes, but for the most part, it's incredibly rewarding, especially with kids. And, you see the joy on people's faces. This is one of the beautiful things that sports does. And, to be able to provide that is truly an honor most of the time. And I think, I still, I want my kids. I don't want my kids to grow up living in a mansion and not, hanging out with kids and going to the ballpark. And I don't think, I don't view myself any differently than anybody else. And I try to just live my life the same way. And I think that, I don't know that it's like a conscious, like I'm going to go do this to put this out there. I just think it's, I try to just be who I am. And, that's kind of the way it works.
With you being so accessible, have there been moments though when it's been a little tense or uncomfortable?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, especially when alcohol's involved. I mean, I got my event coming up this week at the Jersey Shore. Yep. Whenever alcohol's involved, people's inhibitions go down. And if I'm in a hurry, and I try and make, I really do want every fan or person that comes up to me to have a good experience, right? I want to, because I know how much they've put into it to give me the opportunity to make as much money as I'm making and play this game for a living. And I think I try to go and do right by them and to be just a good person. But I'm not perfect. I get caught when I'm in a hurry or a bad mood. So, there's off, there's certainly moments where it hasn't been as fun.
Times in the locker room. You gave me the cross out a couple of times.
That was deserved.
It can definitely happen in the locker room, especially after a loss or, things didn't go very well. It's not always going to be, sunshine and rainbows in that thing. So,
yeah. Well, Jason, let's talk about it because you got the Kelsey's annual Team 62 fundraiser for Eagles Autism Foundation.
Yeah.
Patty's Green at O'Donnell's Poorhouse in Sea Isle. That's 6 days from now. It's June 28th. And it's 6 A to 6 P. I know you're also going to be guest bartending at the OD as well. And I know what a hit this has been. It just the video of it has been phenomenal the last couple of years. I wasn't down there in person, but I heard it was just unreal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anybody that's been to the shore knows that everybody's looking to have fun already. They're just looking for an excuse to have a good time, right?
Exactly.
And it's the OD is that kind of bar where you're looking to have a good time and party and hang out with friends. And they've been kind enough to let us use their facilities, their staff, donate to Eagles Autism Foundation. And, my brother came for the first time last year and he's like, man, I do a lot of charity events. That's probably the most fun I've ever had at a charity event.
Awesome.
It's nobody's taking themselves too seriously. We're all just out there to raise money for a good cause, but more importantly, hang out and have fun. Like, I think it all goes hand in hand, and you can do all three of those things at this event. And I certainly plan on doing that.
Now, anytime in all the years I've covered this game, one thing I love to ask current and former players is this: when they make the transition from an athlete to the media side. So I've got to ask you this.
Okay.
What have you learned about yourself now that you're on this side of the microphone that you didn't really care for when you were on the other side of the microphone, but you have a better appreciation for it now?
First of all, one thing that I didn't know was, how hard it is. I think interviewing somebody and trying to create like a purposeful conversation and steer it while it's still coming off genuine and normal is not an easy task. And actually putting in work so that you're prepared and not just, kind of shooting from nowhere in the middle of the show. I've gained a bunch of respect just from that side of things. And even more so, to be honest, when I went to broadcast boot camp and traditional media routes where you're like in a studio, and that's like a whole nother level of difficulty and preparation that needs to go into that. So, I think I've certainly gained that perspective. And I think I've already had this perspective, but, I think a lot of guys, and I say this because in particular, because Philadelphia is a tough market to play in for a lot of players. I think a lot of guys view people that say negative things about them as though it's like a personal affront, or like it's unfair that they're being attacked, and they become defensive right away. And I think, first of all, going through it from my own career and being up and down and all that, but then also being on the media side, I think, the media is just going to say what they think and, what has been put out on the field. It might not be right all the time, and the person saying it might have the wrong opinion on it, but it's not ever something that I think players should take and, get offended by for the most part. I think the reality is, everything you do is kind of what ends up getting said most of the time. And, what you do out on the field ultimately controls what is said about you. And I wish more players got that. I think every player kind of has to go through this to learn that side of things. And some guys get it. And in this city, if you get it, it works out really well. And some guys don't get it. And if you don't get it in this city, it's not going to work out very well. So I think, the honesty that the media has to have to be, one, good at their jobs, but also two, accountable to their viewers is something that I think at times is rough to take as a player. But, you see it firsthand when you start doing it, that it's a requirement of the job.
Jason, I know you think long and hard and you deliberate whether or not to come back each year. I know you've done that the last few years, and I think everybody's thrilled that you're coming back again. That's for sure. How much of your decision came down to love of the game versus, man, I want to get one more of these. We came close. We came so close last year. How much of it was that?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I tried to remove as much of winning another Super Bowl as much as I can, because there's so many things that go into that, right? And you got to stay healthy. The team's got to be in the right spot. You got to have things fall your way. Like there's a lot that goes into winning a Super Bowl, and I think that we are definitely we're in position to compete for another one. There's no doubt about that. We got the roster, we got great coaches, we got a great front office. We have a lot of things necessary to do that again. And I think that is weighing on it, but I try to not let that influence it. I really just, the more I talk to people every year when I'm going through this decision, I probably shouldn't need to talk to people anymore, because they just tell me the same thing. Don't stop playing until you don't want to play anymore. And I'm like, guys, I think I'm going to always want to play. I just don't think I should be playing anymore. And they're like, well, Jason, whether you know it now or not, there's going to be a day you wake up and you're not going to want to play football anymore. And almost all the guys say, like, do not stop until you're ready to say you're done. Because once you make that decision, it's over. And there's no really going back. I mean, you can try and go back. Some guys have, I guess, but it's not a good situation. So, just look at it from that lens. And I think that's helped me the most. But if I'm going to go back to the Super Bowl thing, I will share this. My brother last year at this OD event, we were talking on WIP, and he mentioned, I won a Super Bowl and then I lost a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, and losing a Super Bowl will never make you want to go back and win one, that much more. And at the time I thought he was just saying something that was good for radio and trying to be dramatic and whatnot. But that is hit me harder than ever now, being on the other side of this thing and having lost one now. I think it for sure, you can try and not let that be a factor. But man, the hunger and the desire to get back there and to finish it, even though it's going to be a completely new season and new set of guys, and it's not the same team, you can't help but that be a factor for sure.
Jason, when you look at where you are in your career right now, and and you've talked for the last 3 to 4 years about the prospects of retiring, and yet here you stand. I've talked to so many players, and it's. I don't, for lack of a better word, I don't want to use the word fear factor, but for lack of a better word, is there a percentage of you that doesn't want to miss that camaraderie, that bond that you have in the locker room with those guys? A lot of players tell me it's so hard to let that go. Even though the end is coming, it's hard to let that aspect of it go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the aspect that all the former players say they miss the most. It's not the actual game. It's being in the locker room. It's going and playing the game, but with your teammates, right? It's being around, quite frankly, a group of individuals who are all driven to be the best that they can be. They're not just, subsiding and getting by. Like, you guys are all in this together, trying to be the best in the world at what you do. That's a hard thing to come by. And I think, I've learned through talking to former players that is the thing that I'm probably going to miss the most. I think that's the thing that most guys miss. And, I don't, and I mean, I think that's why they say keep playing until you can't, because they know, having been made that decision already, that you're gonna miss that. And you don't want to let that go until you have to.
Jason, one of the things we talk about a lot with Nick Sirianni is he probably doesn't get the credit he deserves for, being either an offensive mind or where we talk about some guys like McVay, et cetera, or some of the other things that are like tangible. It's always intangibles, connecting. And that's a great thing too. Don't get me wrong. But for you, and I remember when things started off 2-5 2 years ago and the plant speech and all that, and to a man, flower speech. Yes. to a man, you guys, the vets, I mean like you and BG and Fletcher Cox, et cetera, were like, trust me, this guy, we believe in this.
Yeah.
And it didn't come off like the usual BS that sometimes you hear. What is it about Sirianni that molds you guys and motivates you guys?
Well, one, it's incredibly important to him. And he's yes, I think he is more of an offensive expert than he probably gets credit for. But he's not the boy wonder, offensive specialist, defensive specialist. I think what really makes him unique is he's a workhorse, man. He's always trying to get better. He's communicating constantly. He's, he's in all of the meeting rooms. He's fully aware of what's happening to the extent of like maybe a micromanager, but he allows his coaches to coach and he doesn't micromanage. He toes that line really well of, I know everything everybody's doing, but I'm also letting my guys and players do what they do best and facilitating this whole thing. I think the best head coaches have to be that. They have to be managers of people. They have to be the guys that facilitate an environment that is that promotes growth and creativity and elite level. And I think he does that. He does that in spades. He's one of the best I've been around, and I've been around some really good coaches. I really have, even in college. His team meetings, I don't say this lightly, probably the most productive team meetings I've ever been in an NFL like locker room. They are pointed. There's a theme to each one. A lot of them are the same theme. I mean, it's football. We're going to be accountable. We're going to work hard. We're going to
no turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. You find ways to dress it up and to make it fresh and get guys to listen. And he does that. And, he shows plays where guys screw up in the team meeting. And I think that's important, and then at the same time, he shows plays where that same guy who might've just had a bad play, well, now he's going to be praised for having a good play. So there's not like a imbalance. We're not just out here to rip you guys. Right. We want to celebrate when we do things great, and we want to be accountable and fix things when we do them wrong. And I think that he just, he does a great job with it, man. He's very on top of situational ball, which is extremely important for a head coach. He is very good at what he does, and he's very driven, and, the energy on a daily basis that, motivates guys and pushes guys. He might not have had the best initial press conference or speech in the fans' eyes, but when you feel all that other stuff, man, you can get behind a flower speech when the guy's in your, you got nonstop energy all day, every day, and he puts his heart and soul into it. That metaphor works.
When you're in a profession where guys are constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering who's going to take their position, but you are so secure in who you are and what you do, you go out and endorse them drafting a Cam Jurgens. What did you see in this young man? What did you see in him?
Well, I mean, he's got a lot of tools. I mean, he's incredibly athletic, very, very strong. He's got long arms. He finishes plays. He's a hard worker. Pretty much everything you want to see, you saw in him. First of all, I think the world of Cam Jurgens. I think he has the potential to be better than I have ever been as a center with the skill set he has. And I'm excited to watch that growth as a player and to get an opportunity here at right guard to play this year, especially. But he, I've seen so many guys handle it the way you just said, D-Gun, of like, who's trying to take my job? And it never works out. It always ends bad. Like if the guy's going to end up being better than you and taking your job, it's going to happen. Now you can either be, pissy about it and have a bad attitude and choose not to be a functioning member of a team and help the guy. and be remembered that way, or you can be a part of this and you can, like, at the very least, if the guy's better than me, or if the guy's whoever I am, and there's somebody behind me and he ends up starting like he's going to, if he's a great player, you can either be the guy that's remembered as this guy did everything to prevent me from getting this job and didn't help me at all. Or you can be the guy that's like, hey, this guy helped me get there. And he was a part of my success and career. And I've always I've seen so many guys take the wrong mindset on it. Yeah. And it just is, it's not good for the team. It's not good for the room. And it's really just not good for them, because then ultimately it ends up staining their kind of legacy. So having witnessed that, I think that, and also being at a point in my career where, quite frankly, if he takes my job, I'm fine with it. I think all of that goes into it.
I read something. I can't remember what it was, or it might have been on New Heights. You made reference to Howard Mudd, and I think people forget. This is your fourth regime, right? I mean, you went Andy, Chip, Doug, and now Nick, right?
Yeah. Yep.
First of all, that's incredibly rare. But Howard Mudd was the guy who really had that faith in you from the jump. I think Howie was talking about it on New Heights.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, but I thought it was really funny the way, like, Howie was like, hey, we like this guy, but calm down, Howard. The Howard's like, this dude's your starting center. And Howie was like, are you feeling all right? Like, how much did he mean to you, Howard Mudd?
Oh, man, I don't know if I'm here today without Howard Mudd. I'm probably not, right? I mean, and Howie kind of said that in the interview. Howard had brought a new mindset of how to evaluate offensive linemen to the Eagles organization. Before Howard, it was all, how big is this guy? How long is he? All of the conventional metrics of an offensive lineman. And Howard really believed that athleticism was more important than any of that stuff. You still need to have baseline levels of power, strength, and size, and that helps. But more than anything, you got to have athletes out on the field. And, I didn't know he was that big of a fan. I guess when I was drafted in the 6th round, the 3rd offensive lineman taken, I was like, you can't be that big of a fan. There's other guys getting taken before me. But, I knew, the moment I started going out there and his response to how I was playing, that he was in my corner for sure. I mean, I didn't get gifted a starting job, but I got gifted a job to compete for. I mean, most 6th round players aren't even afforded that, right? Like you're in there, maybe you get a chance to compete for a job down the road, but for the most part, you're probably a special teams guy, or you're a depth guy right from the get-go. And Howard, very early on, said, do you want to start? Do you want to play this year? And I'm like, yeah, of course I want to play. I didn't know that was an option, but yeah, I'm in. And he's like, well, just get to know your playbook. And, we had a guy in Jamal Jackson who was very, had been in the league for a very long time, and was, had proven success and a proven commodity. So it was certainly, very, very fortunate to, one, have Howard in there vouching for me, but also to two, have Howard there, teaching me all of these skills and techniques and things that an undersized player can use to his advantage and excel with.
Hey, is it $1 million question? Is this the last hurrah for Jason Kelsey? Is this the swan song? Everybody's going to ask you all season. I'm getting my shot in now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was $1 million, like if it's $1 million question, does that mean if I'm wrong, I owe you $1 million, or if I'm right, I get?
Exactly
so
what I mean.
If I'm wrong and I owe you $1 million, I'd probably already owe you $3 million if I answered this before the last 3 seasons. So I think, I don't know, and I'm just taking it one at a time. I wish I could tell you yes, but to be honest, I probably thought the last couple of years would be my last one, and it's hard going into a season to imagine, especially with where I'm at physically and mentally, to do another one. Because I know everything that's ahead of me for this one. So yeah, just one at a time. I can't, in good faith, answer that question, Begun.
You answered it exactly like I thought you would, but I had to
Sure.
ask you.
President Kelsey.
I understand.
Jason, let me hit you with this one because we asked Brandon this, and I thought his answer was great, and it kind of has gone along the lines of the way you guys have approached this. Yeah, we all watched it. We saw what the field conditions were in the Super Bowl, and it's ridiculous. But nobody to a man made an excuse. Nobody.
Yeah.
You hear the 49ers are still complaining about things, but you guys handled it the right way. Was that something that just was innate in you guys, or did you say, hey, listen, man, whatever, we lost, let's not sit there and whine about this? Was this just the way everybody answered it, the way everybody took responsibility?
We certainly didn't talk about how to answer these questions. I just, we have a very strong locker room. We had a very strong group of guys. And if you look at across the board, the way the leaders answer the questions, I think that's just kind of ends up being what the team's feeling is, for me personally, I never want to acknowledge that somebody else or something else has control over the outcome. Like if I'm truly a competitor, this shit's on me.
Right.
And although that's not true, like obviously there's a lot of factors that go into it. When you're the guy, when you're Jalen Hurts, I know the way he thinks because we've talked about it. He still beats himself up for this play and that play. It's like, dude, you had like the best performance ever by a quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl. You did just fine, right? But the reality is when you're that guy, if you're really a competitor, you think you control stuff. You don't want to acknowledge that somebody else or a field or officials, because once you start doing that, you start devaluing who you are and who we are, right? No, we're not giving that to anybody. We control the outcome. We made enough mistakes. If we would have fixed that stuff up, we win that game regardless of what happens with the field, anything. So I think that's the healthy way to go about it. That's kind of how we've chosen to do it.
All right, Jason, I know you got to run. We appreciate you giving us a couple minutes. I want to one more time let everybody know Kelsey's annual Team 62 fundraiser for Eagles Autism Foundation, Patty's Green at O'Donnell's Poorhouse, Sea Isle, this Wednesday, June 28th, 6A to 6P, and you'll also be guest bartending right around 4 o'clock at the OD, correct?
That's right. Yep. 4 o'clock, guest bartending. Won't be just me. We got a lot of guys from the team and former players in tune, so it's going to be a really, really fun event.
Awesome. Jason, thanks, man. We appreciate you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. You got it. That is the great Jason Kelsey. Gunner, that was, man, he's so good. And you know what I love? I like the first 20, 25 minutes, we didn't even talk football. We just, that's kind of guy he is.
That's what I said in the show meeting at 11. I don't want to talk X's and O's with him, man. He's so insightful on so many topics. Anybody can talk X's and O's. We have a lot of guests we talk X's and O's, man. But, when you look at his career, things he's done, and now the podcast is so successful with his brother. And as we saw first 20, 25 minutes, that's more entertaining than any X's and O's we can talk about.
Way more. Yeah. He was fine. He's funny, man. He is just a funny dude. And like I said to him, I've said this to you a million times. I wasn't just saying it to him. The fact that he's very much a man of the people. And while you do have to deal with some not so pleasant stuff, it's mostly good. And I give him credit for being that kind of person because it can be challenging sometimes. But the event that he's got coming up this, next week is a perfect example of him just being out there, man, and with the people. So it's very cool. Very cool. All right. So here's what we'll do.
What's coming up next? Here we come. Here it comes.
Crawl Space Tour is coming up next. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to go in there. It's going to be weird. It's not going to be pretty. I can tell you that, but we'll do it. We keep it real here, so we do it. But yeah, I want to thank Jason Kelsey for his time as well. Good job out of you, Gunner, getting him. All right, let's get a timeout. We'll come back with the tour. All right, you ready? All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
All right, let's tell the people about Razor Technology. Yes, Razor Technology, a comprehensive managed service provider solution, delivers constant monitoring, on-demand assistance, and rapid issue resolution. Through data-vetted and insight-driven implementation, they strengthen your existing IT resources with both human power and expertise that reduces security risks and downtime while enhancing organizational efficiency and productivity. They are a strategic resource for adaptive and fast-growing companies that need help selecting, implementing, and managing their IT services. Razor Technology's goal is always bigger than one project, one problem, or one upgrade. It's improving the overall functioning of their partners and helping them achieve their business objectives through an ongoing synergistic relationship. Give your IT team the freedom to refocus by augmenting their reach with Razor Technology. Contact Razor Technology today to learn how their managed services can protect and enhance your business by calling 888-797-3282, 888-797-3282, or visit them online at razor-tech.com. That's razor-tech.com.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Where are you?
I'm here. Can you see me? All right, here we go.
Wait,
All right,
you're
just
in,
making sure.
you're in the
no,
clothes?
I'm about to go down right now.
I got to
So,
see this.
I'm going to walk you through it. Now, tell me if the camera stuff is good because it's hard for me to know how we're doing it. All right, so the light is on, right? Can you see that?
So
All
far,
right,
so good.
So far, so good. Let me show you something. Can you see this? Do you see those World Series tickets? Do I have the camera on it right?
Yeah.
My dad built this bar for me and incorporated like all kinds of like tickets that we used to have back in the day in games we went to. Like that's the 1980 World Series right there. Games 1 and 6 and game 5 of the 83 World Series. Pretty cool, right?
That's unbelievable.
All right. So can you see this mess? Can you see what I'm talking about here? All right. So it's total chaos, right?
I will tell you this though, Rob. That is clean compared to my basement. I've got 3 adult kids plus their kids stuff in my basement. If you saw how big my basement was and how I can't even walk in the basement hardly, it's sad. It really is.
So here we go. All right. We're on the move. Now.
Did I see a foot? Did I see a foot hanging out?
You want to see something funny? Where is it? Oh, where did I put it? Hold on. I might have Charles Barkley's sneaker. What the heck did I do with it? It's this gigantic sneak. I'll see if I can find it. I don't know. All right, so this is just bins and bins of crap. Okay, I mean,
yeah.
Okay, look, I'm giving you kind of the middle. You can't even get into the middle. Like, it's so bad in the middle. So these are the little pathways that I've created over the years, but it is tight. Like, look how, like, I'm literally squeezing it. Like, I just banged my head on a light bulb. Okay.
Hey, that stuffed animal right there.
Yes.
Did you sleep with that as a child?
No, that is a boy gave it to Maddie, and yeah, years ago.
And what did you do? Bury the guy under there with it?
Yeah, pretty much. So this is where it starts to get weird. Like, it is all blocked up in the back. I can't even get to the back. Okay. Like, there's just random, like, here's a sneak, there's just random stuff all over the place. And I can't even get back to the back of this thing. Like, here's a hairbrush in case you need it. Like, there's just everything is here. Yeah.
Who got all the way up under there to put all that stuff in there?
Me, pretty much, mostly. Yeah, there's all kinds of craziness. Oh, there it is. I found it. Hold on. Stay with me. All right. This thing, this is Charles Barkley's sneaker. You see that?
Nice.
All right.
Why don't you have that on a shelf?
I know. I have to put it on a shelf. Let me see let's see if I can find it here. This is crazy. You don't get this anywhere else, Derek. All right. What size is it? Hold on. What is it? I don't see the size on here. I'll see if I can find it, but I think it's like a 19 or something like that. Anyway. All right. So have we had enough of the crawl space?
Dude, that's a pretty good tour. Well lit and just as disorganized. Hey, just as disorganized as my basement. So I don't feel as bad now, although I continuously complain to my family about, can you people get your stuff out of here so I can have some space to walk?
Yes. Let me see what else we have here. We got some weird stuff, man. Yeah, like a bunch of kids' pictures, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, but I have a little bit of space, and I'm going to bring the Barkley sneak out at some point. I'm going to line that up behind me too. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off the handheld and jump back in to the show.
So Tyler Connor says, on this episode of Hoarders, Rob's Dungeon. Let's see. Another one says, Steve Ike says, yard sale, man.
So I'm back.
All right, so
here we go.
Steve Ike says, yard sale, man.
I know.
Let's see what else we got here. Man, if I took you down to my basement, I'd probably be divorced.
I may be after this. Yeah, it's possible.
Does Maggie know you did this?
No, and she's upstairs. So this is going to get interesting at 3:00. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. But the crawl spaces are the worst. They are, honest to God. Like, I would so prefer an attic or even like a little space there for the basement. They're the worst crawl spaces for sure. But yeah, that's it. We're done. Wow. I'm going to shut this bad boy right now.
You don't have a basement?
I have a finished basement that was converted before we moved in. It was like a garage, and now it's a converted finished basement. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Is Derek's pimp hat in there? No, not yet. We should pull those bad boys back out, those pictures, man. That was awesome, man.
That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, well, hey, look, I told you I deliver. If I say I'm going to do it, whether it's a gritty or a crawl space tour, I do it. So that much you can say. Yeah. Nice. It's a little bit. Yeah. DG says it's big. It's not, it may look bigger than it was. It's not that big, but here's the thing. There is stuff that absolutely has no business still being in there that is just clutter crap. Like we have
same here.
I need like a couple of days off to even go through it, to honest to God, there's so much stuff that it would have to go. It's crazy.
Rob, I got to log out for like 10 seconds. You got to hold it for about 10 seconds.
I got you, man. I got you. No problem. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, and if you want to chime in here on the chat as well. I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm a hoarder, but I would say that I definitely am very sentimental when it comes to like artifacts, whether it's like a kid's baseball glove or stuff like that. I am very sentimental with that stuff. So I am like, I would say I'm dancing on the line of being a hoarder when it comes to some of that kind of stuff for sure.
I would agree. There are certain things and certain elements of your life that have no wealth other than you. It's an emotional tie.
Yep.
And my wife and I are both bad at letting go of certain things, but we never anticipated that we would have to house 3 grown children's stuff as well, and a grandkid stuff and wedding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you ever saw my basement in person, I have 9-foot ceilings in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes to my basement. D-Gun, dude, the game room you could have over here, the pool table here. I could legitimately put a couple of bedrooms and a full bath in this basement.
Right.
If you go up the basement, it looked like Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs had a fight in my basement.
Yes.
My wife's Christmas collection of trees, ornaments would probably put Walmart out of business.
I remember how many you guys do? 7 trees, I think.
Ranging from no. So over 10. If ranging from 2 feet to 9 feet.
Wow.
We have a minimum 10 trees up, and that's trees on tables, trees on shelves. We have 1, 2, 3. Used to be 4 because they'd have one on the loft upstairs. But 3 trees. One is a 9-footer. The other 2 are 7-footers that are up, family room, living room, and the foyer in the main hallway. And she keeps buying stuff every year. And I said, don't buy any more stuff until you get rid of the stuff we're never going to use again. But I can't get rid of it. What do you mean you can't get rid of it?
Yeah, Chris D makes a good point. Like, she had to move to Portugal, so she had to really cut back, like, big time. You and I'd be in trouble if that was the case, man.
No, I would be happy. If I could live my life like Chris D in terms of not having extraneous stuff, I would be an extremely happy man.
I hear you. All right, let's do some birthdays and movies because we get some other stuff to get to as well. So let's start with birthdays. All right, Meryl Streep, 74. I would say in our lifetime considered one of the greatest actresses, a top 5 that ever has lived. So 74 for her. Cyndi Lauper is 70 today.
Yep.
Girls just want to have fun. Chris Christopherson, one of the great songwriters and singers and actors. He is 87 years old today, is Chris.
Yep.
Erin Brockovich had a movie made after her life story. Julia Roberts, 63 years old today. The great Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, 52 today. This is a pretty good birthday list so far.
No question.
Freddie Prinze, sadly, life cut very short, but a guy who made a real impact in the 70s with his comedy. He was born on this day in 1954. Pistol Pete, the great Pete Maravich, was born on this day in 1947. Another guy who passed way too young. He was 40 when he died. He averaged 44 points per game, Derek. 44 per game without a 3-point line in the college game. Incredible.
Yep. And he was one of the best passers ever in the game also.
Oh, you are so right about that. So Pete Maravich, Bruce Campbell, the actor, is 65 years old.
Yep.
Tracy Pollan, who is married to Michael J. Fox, an actress in her own right, was very good. If you get a chance to watch the documentary Still, it's about the life of Michael J. Fox and dealing with Parkinson's. She is a rock. She is a great support for Michael J. Fox. She's 63.
Will always be Ellen Reed on Family Ties.
That's right. That's how they met. That's exactly right. So Don Brown is 59 years old. He wrote the Da Vinci Codes and a lot of, he's a great author. Lindsay Wagner, who played the Bionic Woman, is 74 today. Todd Rundgren, the great singer, songwriter, producer, Upper Darby's own, is 75 years old today.
Group Utopia. Yep.
Yeah, wrote a lot of stuff. Amy Brenneman, the actress, is 59. She's very good in the series called The Old Man with Jeff Bridges that was on FX.
She was also very good in NYPD Blue.
Excellent in that. Clyde Drexler, Clyde the Glide, is 61 today. Donald Faison, who is very funny actor, comedian in Scrubs and a lot of other stuff. He's 50. I think he's 59. I think he's 49 today. I had 59 down. I know he's not that old.
Yeah, he's 49. Yep.
Ralph Waite, who was in the Waltons, was born on this day. He was the grandfather, was born on this day, 1928. The great director, producer, Billy Wilder was born on this day, 1906. The golfer, Dustin Johnson, is 39 today. Carson Daly, host of a lot of different things, MTV back in the day, but does a lot of different things. He is 50 today. Champ Bailey's 45 today.
Yep.
Gerard Carmichael, comedian, is 36 years old today. And the great Ed Bradley, 60 Minutes, CBS reporter for years. He's a Philadelphia native as well. He was born on this day in 1941. There's actually a street dedicated to him right at CBS where NBC 10 is. It's called Ed Bradley Way. So that's all I got for birthdays. What else do you have?
Let's see. You have Lacey Goranson, who played Becky on Roseanne, is 49 today. Eric Maria Remarque, who played, he wrote the book All Quiet on the Western Front, a classic.
Nice.
Was born on this day in 1898. Let's see. Graham Greene, who was in Dances with the Wolves and Green Mile, Die Hard with a Vengeance, 71 today. Let's see. We also have Cam Akers, 24 today.
Okay.
Randy Couture, one of the best UFC fighters, 3-time heavyweight champion, 60 years old today.
Okay.
Ian Kinsler, who was a second baseman in Major Leagues, World Series champ, 2-time Gold Glover, 41 today. Bill Blass, the fashion designer, was born on this day in 1922. Stock car racer Jeff Earnhardt, 34 today.
Nice.
Ellen Osmond of the famous Osmond Brothers, 74 today. Britt Hume, national anchor, turned 80 today. I can't believe Britt Hume is 80 years old.
He's that old? I didn't think he was that old.
And Bobby Douglas, former left-handed quarterback for the Chicago Bears, is 76.
Okay, good list. That's a good birthday list there for sure.
Great list. Yep. All
right, let's go movies. Karate Kid, Daniel-san Miyagi. Yes, 84 today. Came out in 84. Yes. Wax on, wax off. Fast and the Furious. I believe this was the original, right? In 01. I think so.
Yeah. I believe it was called. I thought the original was in 2000. Maybe it is 01.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Jurassic World, the 2018, which was the third one. I think.
Dude, I lost count.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to keep up with all these. Evan Almighty with Jim Carrey is 2007. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988.
Yep.
On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando, 1954. Dr. Dolittle 2 with Eddie Murphy, 01. What else you got, Gunner?
That's it. I'm looking at this chat, and Tone chimes in. Meryl Streep is still strong, LOL, at 74 years old. Tone, no comment.
Still a great actress. We could definitely say
still
that.
a great actress, yes.
We could say that much we could say, that's for sure. All right, I wanted to hit a couple things real quick. So you alerted me to this one. LeBron's got a $37 million mansion in the greater Los Angeles area, which
Beverly Hills,
which he's basically tearing down to the studs to remake in the way that he wants it done. But you imagine 37, you're tearing that's a fixer upper for you. You're gonna tear that bad boy down to the studs. 37 million.
Must be nice to have what I call monopoly money.
Good
Must be
God.
nice.
Whoa. Danny Hurley gets a 6-year, $33 million deal with UConn. He got extended, so he is one of the highest paid coaches now in college basketball. Massive kind of money right there. You're right, Tone. I said Jim Carrey. It's Steve Carell in that one. I always get those confused. So Evan Almighty is Steve Carell and Bruce Almighty is Jim Carrey. My bad on that. Thank you. So yeah, Danny Hurley getting paid. That's what happens when you win a national championship, man. It's like, here it comes. And LeBron does his thing. All right. So you'll be hanging out with Jody tomorrow. I'm headed to a wedding in South Bend, Indiana tomorrow. I'm flying into Chicago, driving to South Bend, which is a short little ride, not a bad ride. And I'll be back with you.
Flying into O'Hare or Midway?
O'Hare.
Bad
I know. It was cheaper, my friend. That's all I can tell you. I hear you.
Midway is usually cheaper.
Not this time.
What?
I don't know why, but it was. First of all, neither was cheap. Let me just say that neither one was cheap. It was. Ugh. But anyway, you'll be with Jody. I'll be back Monday. So everybody have a great day tomorrow. I'm sure you guys will be playing plenty of clips from Jason. That was phenomenal. But looking forward to hanging out with everybody tomorrow. Thanks to Tone.
Not only that, not to cut you on, not only that, but according to Tone, I'm holding Tone to his word. He said the email address will be ready by tomorrow. So all you people chime in because you're going to find out where you can send your videos, your pictures, whatever the case may be, over the weekend. And we'll start playing some of them on Monday. If we get enough good ones, we'll start them on Monday.
Yeah, we'll put it out, and we'll put it out on, social media where you can hit us up. But anyway, good job out of Tone producing the program. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are the best. Everybody streaming, everybody listening. Don't go anywhere. You got the National Football Show with Dan Cilio, Gunnar and Jody tomorrow. I'll be back with Derek on Monday. Derek, have yourself have a great day. And thanks to Jason Kelsey. We do appreciate it. And good work out of you, Gunnar. So I will see you guys on Monday. Everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend. Thank you, my friend. See you.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.